Asian champion Yuki Hashioka, who has the Olympic qualifying mark already. That will get us underway shortly as we scroll through the program later on. A fascinating high jump, including world champion Mutaz Esabashim against the top Japanese athletes Naoto Tobe and Takeshari Ito. Justin Gatlin goes in the men's 100 meters final a little bit later on as well. And we get through to some distance events to finish with some of the top Japanese athletes, Nozomi Tanaka and Hitomi Nia. But here's the intros, first of all, for the men's long jump. There are 8 athletes in total being introduced to the crowd. And there are some serious jumpers in this competition as well. There are 4 athletes who have personal bests over 8 meters 20. As we say, first of all, Natsuki Yamakawa, the Asian Indoor Championship finalist. His lifetime best of 8 meters and 6. Small improvement on that would get him close to the Olympic qualifier mark of 8:22. The Asian Games bronze medalist, Satwatu Rahman of Indonesia. He'll be jumping second in the order, his lifetime best of 8:09. The only Australian athlete taking part in today's event is the Olympic and World Championship finalist Henry Frayne, former World Indoor Championship silver medalist. Daiki Oda, the World Under-18 Championship bronze medalist. Just shy of 8 meters this season. 8:03 his best, set in 2019. That's Daiki Oda. Tenju Tagawa, 8 meters spot on his personal best. He's had a couple of competitions this season already where he's been in the mid 7 meters or so. And then we get into some of the real serious performers. Yuki Hashioka, the national indoor record holder of Japan, won this event last year. 8:32 his best, a world finalist and an Asian champion from 2019. Shutaru Shirayama, 8 meters 40 his personal best. He is the standout performer in terms of lifetime best in this field. And finally in the order, the last of the 8 athletes, Hibiki Tsuha, the national champion from Japan last year. His lifetime best is 8 meters 23. Those are your 8 athletes. For the men's long jump final, we'll be bringing you that coverage alongside our track coverage over the course of the next couple of hours. There is that 8-man list in full. It's very good data. Jenny Meadows alongside us, Jenny, and it's fabulous, first of all, to see the Olympic Stadium lit up and the fact this event is on as well, given the global challenges that everyone's facing at the moment.
It is, and these are the images that we've wanted to see for some time, and the stadium looks magnificent, doesn't it? It's actually the test event, so there's quite a lot of people there at the event checking the equipment works. Maybe there'll be a few teething problems. You're always going to see those sorts of things, but real opportunity for some of the competitors here to test out where they obviously want to be competing in 12 weeks' time.
Absolutely. The Golden Grand Prix is off an event stage later in the calendar, but brought forward to be the official test event. It's taking on all sorts of guises today. There have obviously been distance running events and half marathon events tested in Sapporo earlier on in the week as well, which will host the marathons and race walks for the Olympic Games. But an opportunity now as part of the Ready Steady Tokyo program, as well as the Continental Tour Gold. This is a second stop of the Continental Tour Gold. We kicked off in Eugene, Oregon a couple of weeks back. There's another meeting taking place later on today as well at Mount Sac in the USA. So it really is a feast for athletics fans joining us wherever you are around the world. So our first jump then of this competition is Natsuki Yamakawa. And looking in the low 7 meters there, quite a bit of heavy strapping on his right knee, which is not a great way to come into your first competition, Jen, when you're having to wrap up your injuries before you've even started.
Yeah, and that's a lot of, a lot of athletes will find themselves in that unfortunate situation, unfortunately. Quite a few athletes are really going to, make sure they've took advantage of that extra year, but I'm sure for some athletes it's worked out well, others maybe not, but yeah, he walks off and he looks like he's okay. Strapping these days is, one of the things that a lot of athletes do, sometimes just to, take precautionary more than anything.
Yeah, sometimes it's psychological as well, isn't it? Just feel a little bit better if you have had a niggle in the past with it protected. Yamakawa, the winner of this event actually in 2019, finished in 5th place last year, twice a Japanese national bronze medalist. 7:38 has been his best this season. That looked to be somewhere in and around that. Confirm the distances for you on the screen as soon as we get them.
just getting a little bit of feedback there from his coach. Maybe first time trying this runway. He seems pretty happy with it. I'm sure he'll be taking all that information and advice in the next jumps.
So just standing by, the Seiko officials there, making sure with the digital measuring devices. So making sure that all those results are clarified before we allow the next jumper onto the runway, who will be Satwatu Rahman of Indonesia, who will certainly have Indonesia will have a firm eye later on the men's 100 meters with their very exciting young talent Lalu Zori taking on the likes of Justin Gatlin in the men's 100 meters later on. But our first event on the track is the men's 200 meters. We'll introduce the athletes to you. This event, of course, as you can see from the seats behind, unfortunately behind closed doors due to the current situation in Japan, which just emphasises what an amazing job everybody has done to be able to get this test event on and attract some athletes from overseas, albeit not as many as they would have liked to in the current climate. As you see the full start list there, a full raft of 9 on this newly redeveloped National Stadium, which hosted this event last year. So we work from the outside for the sprint events. Akira Matsumoto goes right on the outside, 21 years of age. 2093, his personal best set at the back end of last year, so he's in reasonable form. He's finished just outside that, 2096 this season. Shoichi Kabayashi has already set a lifetime best. That 2085 mark you can see there was set last week in Fukuroi. Kazuma Higuchi, just outside 21 seconds this season in his one competition. Jun Yamashita goes in lane 6. He's a 20.4 man, which was set a couple of years ago. Former World Under-20 silver medalist in the relay. Olympic Games silver medalist in the relay from Rio 2016. Shota Izuka hasn't got the qualifying mark yet. Won this event last year. The qualifying mark that all these athletes are chasing is 20.24 seconds. Ryota Suzuki goes in lane 4. Took part just last weekend in the IAAF, or World Athletics, relay bronze medalist in the 4x100 meters in the World Athletics relays in Silesia in Poland. So he's had a busy schedule of traveling. Daiichi Sawa, just 20 years of age, who's also set himself a new lifetime best already this month, 20.81. That best performance set last weekend. Another of the World Athletics World Relays silver medal quartet in the 4x1, Ayoto Suzuki, goes in lane 2. And right on the inside, we meet Akihiro Higashida, who's a 20.88 man. That PB goes back to 2017, 20.21.5, his best so far this season. So Izuka in lane 5, he has the qualifying mark for the Olympic Games in the 100 meters. He would love to do so in the 200 meters as well. He'll be the favorite for this. Lane 5, that Olympic qualifying mark, 20.24. The men's 200 meters at the Golden Grand Prix in Tokyo.
Set.
So keep an eye on Izuka, all in the black and red out of lane 5, pretty even through the opening 50 meters or so. Izuka with Yamashita outside him in the white, and it's those two at the 4. Right on the outside, Matsumoto going well. Kobayashi's pulled up. It's Izuka at the moment. Still Matsumoto right on the near side, closest to the camera, the nearest challenger. Keep an eye on the clock, 20.24, just outside. Unfortunately, on this occasion for Shota Izuka, he's to pull up slightly, a very short end after the line, wasn't it? He came to a stop pretty quickly there, Shota Izuka. But his nearest challenger, we maybe didn't expect it to be right on the outside, Akira Matsumoto. We'll confirm the official time for you very shortly, but Matsumoto, with the hard work to do right on the outside, certainly kept up to his work, even more so when the athlete inside him pulled up. But Izuka, with Yamashita starting to fade in the latter stages, driving up towards the line, and look across to the clock. A good dip by Matsumoto might have just got him second.
Well, off the turn, there wasn't much in it, was there? But it was Izuka who actually found himself that last 50 metres. He managed to pull away from the rest of the field. I do agree with you, Chris. He didn't take many strides after the lane, did he, once he'd crossed that line? But that will be a season's best. 20.48 seconds. So he still needs to find himself just over 0.2 of a second if he does want to represent Japan at the Olympic Games in the 200-meter discipline. As you said, he has already got the qualification over the 100 meters, and yeah, I'm sure that's one of those things where we say it blows the cobwebs away a little bit.
And that is the thing to remember, isn't it? This is still so early in the season, even for some of the athletes maybe in the Southern Hemisphere who've been in the likes of Australia and New Zealand and other countries who've been competing for quite a few weeks now in warmer conditions. As we saw right at the top of the broadcast, if you were with us, the weather about 25 degrees Celsius in the stadium this evening as we are in early evening time locally in Japan. So that's pretty comfortable conditions for sprinters, isn't it, at this time of the evening?
Yeah, I think, oh, here we go. We're seeing the start once again. And yeah, he gets a good start, doesn't he? Driving away. Those first few steps are really, really vital. Very interesting, actually, to see this shot of all the different techniques. It doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you do get there. And all the competitors were pretty close off the bend. But as we say, you know, towards the end of this race, he really powered away, didn't he? And yeah, look how much he decelerates so quickly. But yeah, quite a look of relaxation there in his face, and looks over to the clock straight away in the infield just to see what sort of time he recorded. But yeah, great early season form.
I'm probably seeing a couple of biomechanics, or I'm thinking in my mind of a couple of biomechanics specialists and coaches wincing slightly at the speed with which he did pull up there, because that looked a little bit dangerous. Here's Takeda Oda, meanwhile, in the first round of the long jump, the 5th jumper to go so far. Got a good bit of height on that one, comes in the high to mid 7 meters, somewhere around about that. We will try and bring you the distances for these jumps, just sorting out 1 or 2 issues with that on screen, but we'll bring you the confirmed results from the 200 meters as well as soon as we have that rundown available for you. But that one looking around about the 750 mark, maybe slightly further. And as you can see from the windsock just hanging down by the pit there, very little breeze, Jen, in the stadium by the look of it.
Yeah, 0.5 in fact. It came up just as you said that, didn't it? So it's almost completely still, which is fantastic conditions. Really enjoyed watching that jump, actually. Such a neat athlete on the runway, and really nice hang position as well. And going back to what we saw earlier, we saw that it was taking a little bit of time to measure that, you know, the first jumper. I think it's, again, you know, just part of that test event. Let's check the equipment out, and looks like it's working really well so far.
Let's see Tenju Tagawa then with his first round jump. 8 meters, you saw the distance come up 7.66, by the way, for Oda in the previous attempt. Just shy of what he's produced so far this season. But Tagawa, the Olympic qualifying mark, by the way, in this event, of which 3 of the jumpers already have it, is 8 meters and 22. So a little bit for Tagawa to find. And with 3 other athletes already having the qualifying mark as well, it will be beyond some of these. The Japanese National Championships and Trials take place in the last week of June. Some of the distance events have already been selected, but for the likes of the long jumpers, that will be what it comes down to. Here's Tagawa in round 1. Just chopped his stride coming into the board. It was the hitch kick technique on this occasion, and again coming in around about the same as Oda in the previous jump.
Yeah, it did look just short of 8 meters there, didn't it? And 8 meters really is the benchmark for world-class athletes. 8.22, as you've mentioned, Chris, is that automatic qualification standard for Tokyo, and that's throughout every single country. That's set by World Athletics. 7.73, and again, the wind 0.5 meters per second, so almost still.
I think with an 8 meter personal best, I think 7.73 in the opening round, I think he'd be pretty happy with that, wouldn't
he? You would think so, wouldn't you?
So,
he's competed once so far, and the best he registered for his 6 attempts there was 7 meters 69. So yeah, already in excess of what he did in his first competition. So hopefully lots to build on.
Big expectations then of Yuki Hashioka, the World Championship finalist. He's ranked number 6 in the World Athletics World Rankings at the moment in the long jump. Won this with 7 meters 97 last season. A couple of competitions, he's been either side of 8 meters. He won in indoors in Osaka, 8 meters 19. And his one outdoor comp, 7.97. So he's been in good form over the last couple of months as Yuki Hashioka. And he's one of those who already has the Olympic standard with his personal best from the summer of 2019 of 8.32. What can he lay down in the first round with a couple of his strong competitors to come next? Hashioka, round 1. Oh, what a start from him. That's looking very, very close to the 8-meter line. Again, it takes a few jumps for us to judge what the naked eye tells us compared to what the official measuring equipment tells us, but that looks to be a very, very solid start.
It does, and we've had a little bit of intel to say that he actually looks, you know, in really good shape. There's centimetres to spare. That's as good as it gets almost. But yeah, he's competed recently. Oh, there we go, 8:07. The wind has helped a little bit, plus 1.8. Of course, we're allowed up to 2 meters per second for the wind. But yeah, that's a great start, 8:07.
Let's just wrap up that men's 200 metres for you then. And great to see those initials PB next to quite a few athletes down there. Matsumoto ran really well right on the outside in lane 9, and he's rewarded with a personal best, 20.57. Izuka, the winner, 20.48. What a beautiful sight, the National Stadium of Japan, which is where the athletes will be in the cauldron of the Olympic Games. We hope with at least some spectators involved. That's all remains to be seen as we move on the track then to the men's 400 metres. As you can see, some international representation in this event in lane 4 in the shape of Great Britain's Rabah Youssef, who's also had a busy week or so. He was competing in Poland in the World Athletics World Relays for Great Britain last weekend. Let's meet the athletes then. First of all, right on the outside in lane 9 is Kosuke Ikeda. 46.53 PB set in 2019. In aid of Kuhai Itahana, 46.24. Regular watchers of athletics might be able to recognise the voice of Jeff Whiteman, stadium announcer in English, in the background. One of our colleagues from Great Britain who's out in Tokyo for this. Kentaro Sato, the Asian champion in the relay, 4x400 metres with the Japanese team, twice an Asian bronze medalist, going back to 2015. Rikuya Ito ran 45.8 last year, or just under that in fact, just outside his personal best, which was set back in 2018. Another one who was in action in the World Relays. Kaito Kawabata, also in action in Poland, 22 years of age. His PB goes back to last year. Rabah Youssef, twice a World Championship bronze medalist in the 4x400 metres. No one in Great Britain has the Olympic qualifier, which is 44.90. No Japanese athlete has it either. Daiki Nosei, his personal best set already this year, 46.35. That was last weekend in Fukuroi. Lane 2, Shunta Fujiyoshi, just a teenager at 19. Also a lifetime best already this month, 46.5. And on the inside, Mitsuki Kawayuchi, a sub-46 runner. He's had a couple of run-outs already this year as well from lane 1. The Olympic qualifier that athletes like Rabah Youssef in lane 4, as we see some of the virtual spectators, which is one of the technical advancements we're seeing, with no spectators allowed inside the venue, of course, apart from athletes, coaches and the like. Great to see some of the local public watching virtually the Golden Grand Prix in Tokyo as we settle down for the men's 400 metres with Youssef in 4, Kawabata in 5 and Ito in 6, the lanes to keep an eye on. Well, Rabah Youssef in lane 4 is 34 years of age now. He's been running mainly in the mid-45s over the last couple of years, and he's gone out pretty sedately in the early stages. Sato, too, from the outside in the red and white, has gone out very positively in lane 7. Right on his inside, he's taking Rikuya Ito with him as well. And they, at the moment, are leaving the rest behind. But Kawabata just starting to get into his running now in lane 5 in the red and black, but it's still Ito in lane 6, right on the inside of Sato. And now Kawabata in lane 5 starting to come through. Rabah Youssef of Great Britain still struggling. But it's Kawabata on the inside of these three. Ito in the centre. Sato nearest the camera now drives on towards the line. And it's going to be Kentaro Sato finishing really strongly through the line. 45.62 for Kentaro Sato, just outside his lifetime best by 0.04 of 1 second. And he really powered through the line there to take that one.
That was such an interesting race to watch, and an interesting race for Sato to run it that way. he really went out hard, didn't he? And he took Eto with him. And at this point, I thought Kawabata was really coming strong at the end, but you can just see that lactic acid filling his legs up to the end. And Sato really just found something again all the way to the line and really powered through the line with so much momentum as well. So that's a great run, season's best, 45.61. And I'm sure in a few more weeks' time, you know, these 400 meters, you need to get a few of these in your legs before you actually, you know, can really power down that home straight. But he did a great job, and I wonder whether he can take his personal best this year under that 45 seconds and qualify and get that automatic time, 44.90.
Well, he had his success in the Asian Championship as a bronze medalist way back when he was 20 years of age, so he's still only 26. There's still lots of running ahead of him, Kentaro Sato. And as you say, Jen, he broke that race down, didn't he? Because he went powering out over the first 100 or so. Then he seemed to gather himself coming around the curve, and then halfway down the home straight, as you say, the afterburners came on, and everybody else was going, hang on a minute, where's he found that from?
Yeah, it was so, you know, interesting watching that. You don't really see that very much in a 400 metres. A competitor who can go out, take it out hard the first 200 metres. He almost had a little bit of a rest, I think, round the second bend, and made sure he had enough in the tank to bring it home. But yeah, I think he can really knock a big chunk off that personal best this season.
Well, 44.9 with that one in his legs and a couple of others so far. You wouldn't say that that was necessarily going to be possibly beyond him. He's still got to find a second, but with improvement in his legs and the spurring on of the home Olympic Games. As we bring you the latest standings in the men's long jump, you have to be quick to see that. But here's Henry Frayne. This is jumping in third position. That's around about the mid-7 metre marks for Henry Frayne, who's the World Indoor silver medalist from back in Istanbul in 2012.
Yeah, he didn't get much height really off that board, and he'd almost stopped all his momentum as he got in the pit. He was finished his jump and he was halfway out already. I don't think he liked that one. There we go, 7.55.
Just a slight headwind on that occasion as well, so that very gentle breeze that is bowling around the National Stadium is turning around in directions as well. So, Daiki Oda will be the next to jump. 7.66, an impressive start in round one. His best this season is 7.79. His personal best is 8.03. An Olympic qualifying standard. We are going to be banging on quite a bit about Olympic qualifying marks today. 8.22. Stretching forward at the end, wasn't he there? But again, up in the high 7 metres, somewhere around about that. Not quite as impressive probably as his first round of 7.66.
No, and you did mention, you know, we will be talking about those qualification standards, because ultimately you won't be able to go to those championships. You won't be guaranteed, of course, unless you have hit those marks and standards. We can come into how else you can qualify later, but yeah, oh, absolutely the same. So very consistent, 7.66 again, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to be consistent around about that mark. Wind again, almost still, so we can actually see it did get up to plus 1.8, didn't it? So, you know, very minimal wind, almost ideal conditions.
So next to jump will be Tenju Tagawa. We'll bring you the result of that very shortly as we cut to the lineup for the men's javelin. And there's going to be, again, a really interesting local competition, if you like, between a couple of the top Japanese athletes with some Chinese Taipei interest as well here. 8 athletes ready to be introduced to the crowd. I say crowd, the few that are in there. And of course, to you watching wherever you are around the world, joining us here at the Ready Steady Tokyo official Olympic test event, which is the Golden Grand Prix, part of the World Athletics Continental Tour Gold. Stop number 2 of the Continental Tour Gold. We have 12 meetings scheduled for around the world, with Mount Sac, California to come later on in the day. That world record mark for Jan Zelezny still stands. It's come under a bit of pressure from some of the top German throwers in the last few years or so, as we see Naganuma, who will be the first to throw, preparing to be introduced in the stadium. The athletes to keep an eye on in the 3 and 4 positions in that list, really. Ryo Arai and Genki Dean. And also the Chinese Taipei athlete Huang Shifeng, who will be last in that lineup. A couple of these athletes are surfing very, very close to the cut-off mark in the world rankings as far as the Olympics are concerned. And as you mentioned, Jenny, we'll touch a little bit more on that as we talk about how athletes can qualify, the various methods by which they can qualify for their national teams for the Olympic Games. The Olympic qualifying mark is one of those. That's the way to get yourself the most secure way through. But there are other ways as well. Some of these athletes might struggle to reach the 85-meter qualifying mark, but might benefit in other ways. So the men's javelin coming next. Next on the track will be the men's 400 meters hurdles. We have some great distance events to come as well. 5,000 meters for men and women. We'll see the men's 1,500 as well a little bit later on. Men's 110 meters hurdles. Correction, sorry, we'll see the women's 1,500 meters later on. The men's high jump, Mutaz Essa Barshim, the world champion, competing for the first time outside his native Qatar in a couple of years. Okay, here are the athletes then for the men's javelin. Jen Nakanuma is agonizingly short of 80 meters, 79.99. Kominami, 82.52, set just a couple of weeks ago, so he is in form. Comes into this 31st ranked in the world. Ryo Arai, 6 times a national champion of Japan between 15 and 20, won it 6 times in a row. Personal best of 86.83, he's been just shy of 80 meters this season. Genki Dean, born to Japanese and British parents, is a World Under-20 silver medalist from a few years back, the Asian Championship finalist. Kohei Hasegawa, experienced athlete, 31 years of age. Been a little bit down on that PB this year in the 75-meter range. Kenji Ogura has been very, very close to that PB in his competition in Hiroshima a couple of weeks ago. Kanosuke Sugawa, an 82 or 81 high thrower at best, but has been below that competing in South Africa this year. And finally will be Huang Shifeng, the Asian champion from 2015. 86 meters 64 personal best. Those are the men's javelin competitors then. No Japanese athlete has the Olympic standard of 85. Arai and Dean, certainly in terms of the local Japanese competitors, are those who will be the closest to getting it. We'll talk about the world rankings a little bit later on as well in terms of how athletes can qualify through that method. But those are your 8 for the men's javelin. So as we go through, we'll keep you up to date as best we can in terms of the distances of the athletes. We are getting the same information that you're getting on the screen. We have our computer with the updated results is not coming through live, so we have whatever information you're seeing, that is the information we have as well. So we're doing our best to keep you as up to date as we can as we see confirmation there of that 400 meters result. A season's best for Sato, hopefully more to come for him, 45.61. So, Jen, let's talk about the importance for these athletes of getting the feel of the stadium. Now, there's nothing that can replicate having a full or a semi-full stadium when it's empty, of course, and it's great for these athletes to be sampling conditions. It won't be the same by the time we get to the Olympic Games, but in terms of, for these javelin throwers, feeling the runway, feeling the conditions, feeling how the wind swirls around and various things, there are so many positives that you can garner from having experience in these conditions.
There is, and I think we can see from this fields that have been assembled here, everyone, every main competitor in Japan in every single discipline, everyone wanted to be at this meeting.
So that marker line is at 70 meters. So Naganuma well short in that first throw. So yeah, the sector line there, that falling short of is 70 meters. The one further in the distance is 80 meters. to give you some context of what you're looking at. Naganuma, who competes for the Suzuki Motor Corporation team, 23 years of age. Won the Japanese title in 2019 with that lifetime best we mentioned of 79.99, but that one coming in short of 69 meters. Next on the track will be the men's 400 meters hurdles. So we go from the 400 meters flat to the 400 meters hurdles. All 9 lanes, I should say, in use for this one. We have international interest in this one too. On the inside, Chen of Taipei and also Sugimati of Brazil, based in Japan, but competes for Brazil. And Takatoshi Abe, who goes in lane 5 here, is the only athlete who has the Olympic qualifying standard, which is 48.90 in this event. He's ranked in the top 20 in the world rankings this year. So here we meet the athletes then. On the outside is Hiroya Kawagoe. Again, a fraction outside his personal best. We've mentioned that a few times already today. Athletes who were already getting very close to their personal best in the fledgling stages of this year. Kawagoe, 49.91, he's run last week, so that shows you just how close he is to that personal best. The 2015 national champion of Japan, Yuki Matsushita, just outside 49 seconds at his best, but he's been producing in the 50s this year. Hiromu Yamauchi goes in 7, just 21 years of age. Won competition this year when he ran 50.2. Lane 6 is Kazuki Kurakawa. He's only 19, 49.19 already. The favourite pretty easy to spot in that blue and yellow. Takatoshi Abe, the Yamaha Holdings Company outfit. 48.68, the national champion of Japan, the former Asian champion. Masaki Toyoda, World Under-18 Championship bronze medalist from a few years back. Doesn't have the standard, but is currently in the world rankings positions for the Olympic Games. Something we'll explain a little bit later. Maho Sugimati, the Japanese-based Brazilian, who has Japanese ancestry. 36 years of age now. The South American champion from back in 2013. Maho Sugimati. Takahumi Iwasaki is in lane 2. Ducking under 50 seconds for his lifetime best in 2018. And on the inside, not an ideal lane draw for Chen Jie of Chinese Taipei, 3 times an Asian Championship silver medalist, 15, 17 and 19. Set his personal best at the World Championships in Doha. Correction, he set his personal best in Doha earlier in 2019 of 48.92, as we see more of the virtual fans watching on. So Abe in lane 5 and Chen right on the inside in lane 1. Keep an eye on him from the toughest lane there. He's got everything in front of him, but he's certainly got it all to do. Men's 400 meters hurdles at the Golden Grand Prix, live in Tokyo. So that blue and yellow of Abe. The Olympic qualifying time is 48.90, by the way. First to rise, though, was Kurakawa outside Abe, who will know the threat is inside him and has gone blazing out over his first 200 meters. So Kurakawa from Abe just inside him at the moment. Chen of Taipei right on the inside, pretty slow to get into his running. Still Kurakawa in lane 6. Abe inside him. Also coming between athletes now as well in lane 7, Yamauchi. But as it has been from the front, Kurakawa. Now, has he saved anything for this last 100 meters? He's got 3 or 4 meters on the rest at the moment. Just starting to tie up a little bit, Kurakawa. Coming strongly on the inside is lane 4 is Toyoda. And now just outside, Yamauchi also getting moving, closest to the camera. But in the end, he's just held on to the line. 48.68 for Kazuki Kurakawa. and he is inside the Olympic qualifying standard, and that is why he is punching the air. 48.68. Kurokawa has the qualifier.
Wow, what a great race. He pieced that together so well. He started incredibly well from the blocks, and I was actually obviously looking at Abe and thinking he'd mistimed it and he was going to come through at the end. But so strong all the way to the finish there, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing the times for all the first 3 athletes there. You can see the sheer joy, what it actually means to him, and that is a world-class time, a huge personal best, an Olympic qualification time, and it'd be really good if we can see the times of the 2nd and 3rd, because they've got to be pretty close to that as well.
Well, it's great to see that so early on in the meet, isn't it, as far as our live world broadcast is concerned, and the joy, as we mentioned, for these athletes, particularly with a home Olympic Games. You don't get many of those. You probably only get one of those. You certainly only get one of those in your lifetime as you're at the elite end of your career. Here's Genki Dean in the first round of the men's javelin. One of the favourites for this competition. And that's heading out between the 70 and 80 metre lines. White flag, so one on the board early on for Genki Dean. Bringing the update of the standings from the throws we've had already, just as soon as we have that available.
Well, Dean has gone out to 82 metres 15 so far in this early season, so that falling well below.
Just to give you an idea, Jen, by the way, in Kurokawa, he's world ranked in the World Athletics rankings 130th in the 400 metres hurdles. Now, just as a guide, the top approximately 40 or 50, depending on which event it is, will end up going to the Olympics, athletes from across the world. So to be world ranked 130th and to throw in a time like that, he's not only just, he's taken nearly 3/10 off the qualifier there.
And I imagine he's probably gone up about 100 places as well to boot. And for a 19-year-old to come out with that sort of performance, it was one of those fearless performances that I think you just do when you are a teenager and you think, you know, you've been set this standard of 48.90 and you think, okay, I've got to get it or I'm not going. And yeah, maybe he just didn't think about it too much, and just what a fantastic race. So nice to see his face at the end, and 48.68 is a serious time. These Olympic qualification standards, of course, as you would expect, a real world class, and yeah, he's definitely accelerated himself up that world lead list.
Yeah, we saw the Hosei University logo on his top as well, so I'm sure they've been watching on, certainly in great support of their man Kurokawa, who could well be off to the Olympic Games with that time. First round of the javelin, we're back to Hasegawa, who's throwing in 5th position in the order. His best is 75.67 this season, and that is, we're going to say that one's slipped out a little bit because that's well below what he's able to produce. But again, we reiterate everything we say in terms of performances with the fact this is very early in the season still. We say very early in the season, Jen, but of course the Olympic trials for a lot of these countries will be late in June, so you've got probably, what, 6 weeks to find your shape? And if you haven't got the, I mean, to have the qualifying time going into the national championships and the trials, because not every country does it the same, is a great sort of weight to have off your from around your neck, isn't it? But you've still got a bit of time, but that time I'm sure will start to go a bit quickly if you're not maybe in the shape you thought you might be in.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Some people want the championships, the trials to come sooner rather than later, and other people, they just need that little bit extra time. But interesting, actually, to watch these javelin throwers. No one has gone over that 80-metre line so far. Maybe it's just, you've mentioned it, Chris, getting used to the runway sometimes. There's different speeds of runways, but here we go, Agura, first attempt.
Well, his reaction will tell you without looking at where it's landed. Well, he didn't seem to be too happy with it, but that's probably one of the best throws we've seen so far from Agura. He looks frustrated. Well, if he's frustrated with that, then hopefully there's plenty more to come. As we said earlier, he's just been below his personal best of 79.36 this season. I haven't proved myself to be too good a guesser so far. That looks about the 75 mark, but certainly, if he's frustrated with that, hopefully a little bit more to come in the tank.
Yeah, maybe that's just a sign of he knows, what he's got in him. I was just looking, he was looking at his wrist a little bit, 75.44. All the actual power that you're putting through these joints, shoulders, elbows, wrists, knees, hips for javelin throwers, it does take its toll. And yeah, very, very difficult event to prepare for.
Kenosuke Sagawa will go next, 26-year-old from Grandstone. Finished third in this event last year. And it was in its traditional place in the calendar as the Seiko Golden Grand Prix. Still called the Golden Grand Prix, but has various other titles as well, including being on the Continental Tour Gold, the Ready Steady Tokyo official Olympic test event as well. Sagawa, round 1.
Yeah, that just came down, didn't it? Didn't get much height whatsoever. He has got a white flag, so it is a valid throw. But you could just see it's quite off balance when he actually released the spear.
Yeah, I think everybody, you don't see many people often step over in the first round, do you? Let's get a mark on the board, even if it's well below what you hoped for. We might see later on in the competition how athletes are frustrated. They might step over and take the flag to make sure it isn't measured. But 64.03 to kick off for Sagawa, who is the best part of an 82-meter thrower on his best form. So we're down to the final thrower for round 1 of the men's javelin. This will be Huang Shifeng of Chinese Taipei. Finished 4th at the last 2 Asian Championships in 2017 and 2019. He currently sits 31st in the world rankings quota of Olympic places out of 32 places. So he really is surfing a very fine line at the moment. Huang. And that is heading out the 75-meter region as well for Huang. So that's around about the best we've seen so far, isn't it? Somewhere around about the 75, 76-meter mark in this first round.
Yeah, I think a lot of nerves are, been released there. And I think sometimes as a competitor, you get one in, you get one in, you've had a feel for it, you can make some adjustments, some alterations. If they've got a coach there, they can talk about a few, technical things. Just see the thrower in the background, really loosening his shoulders up. And, yeah, get one on the board, get one registered, and then try and hit the big distances.
So 75-77 in round 1 for Huang as we begin round 2 with Naganuma. Qualifying standard 85 meters, as we mentioned earlier. Nobody has that in Japan anyway. Chinese Taipei athlete Huang doesn't have it either. So 5th position in his first round. So to throw a little bit more into that one. And this time does manage to get himself over the 70-meter line. So a gradual improvement in round 2 for Gen Naganuma.
Yeah, it was up for that, wasn't he? We had those images of him in the background going through his final preparations. Interesting how he got his whole body weight behind him. He actually put one hand on the floor to steady himself. That was 6-7 meters in excess of his first throw.
Indeed, yeah, 73-32, a significant improvement. Keeps him in 5th position as it stands at the moment. We see Genki Dean. He's actually born in the northeast of England. If any of you listening know the northeast of England, Chester Street in County Durham, which is about half an hour, 45 minutes south of Newcastle, which might be more familiar to those of you maybe watching around the world. Live from Tokyo in the Golden Grand Prix. Myself, Chris Temple, and the 6 times major medalist over 800 meters, Jenny Meadows. Kominami, round 2. Coming over the 70-odd meter line again.
Well, he didn't like that, and you've already alluded to it, Chris. A lot of the athletes know straight away, don't they? They know in the long jump, they know in a lot of these field events, they can just get a feel for it, and when it's left the hand, they just know whether it's going out to, the sort of area that they want it to. He released it and, just decelerated all his power straight away.
There's a confirmed result. Look at those amount of PBs down the list. You're punching the air, Jenny. You're delighted to see so many PBs.
I am, but really significantly, all the top 3 are within that Olympic qualification standard of 48.90. I couldn't help but celebrate. I knew it would be close. So Japan have got 3 400-meter men under that qualification in early May. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that is superb, and that's great confirmation for those guys as well, and for those of you watching, supporting maybe individual athletes as well. So getting the standard is one thing. You then got to get yourself selected in the team. If more than 3 people have that standard, you've got to come in the right places in your national championships, potentially, as we go back to the men's long jump. 6th place so far for Shutaro Shirayama with mid-7 meters. Now his personal best is 8 meters 40. Interestingly, his next best jump of his career is 8:01. That's his only 2 jumps over 8 meters in his career. 8:40, 8:01. So they're quite far apart, to say the least. Here he is, only mid-7 meters so far today. That's getting out nearer towards 8 meters for Shirayama, the Asian Championship bronze medalist from 2017. But that's quite a curious series, isn't it, Jen? He had a 1.5 meters per second tailwind when he jumped that 8:40. But to be 40 centimetres better than anything else you've ever jumped is quite, I guess, a remarkable numbers.
It is. And I think sometimes in your career, you could just hit a performance where everything just feels right. And sometimes you question yourself and think, actually, how did I do that? But sometimes it takes you a couple of years to catch up and get that consistency. So 8 meters, of course, is world class, but 8:40, that's medal territory. And I'm sure he would love to get in that territory on a consistent basis.
So there is the current standings as it is in the men's long jump. Yuki Hashioka, don't forget he has the standard. Tagawa, currently in second position there with 7:73. He's the only one of the leading athletes who doesn't have the Olympic standard of 8:22 as things stand at the moment. So we're going back to the track for the men's 5,000 metres, our first long distance event over the 12.5 laps. And we have a bumper field of 15 involved in this one. Some Kenyan interest as well as the local Japanese athletes all gunning for the Olympic qualifying time as we meet them. Yamato Yoshi, PB of 13:25, is drawn 11 on our list, but he certainly wasn't 11th from the inside there, was he? But either way, that is Yamato Yoshi, Asian Championship bronze medalist from 2019, Hazuma Hattori. Bedan Karoki, 3 times a world championship finalist over 10,000 metres, including London 2017, twice an Olympic finalist as well. Yuta Bando, national champion last year over 5K. His PB is 13:18, just outside the Olympic qualifying. And Akira Aizawa, the World University Games half marathon champion. He won the national title over 10,000 metres last year. Akira Aizawa. So see what they've done. They've got all the larger hip numbers on the inside, Jen. And the lower hip numbers are on the outside of the second group.
Oh, I see how that's worked.
So they've done it. They've switched the groups around there somewhat. But either way, we'll keep our eye on this. The men's 5,000 metres over 12.5 laps of the track. We will also pick up the field events as we go. Olympic qualifying standard 13:13.5.
Yeah, the Japanese love their distance running, so good at it as well. But really interestingly, no one has achieved this mark of 13:13. Very Pacific, isn't it? 13:13.50. We're going all the way down to half a second in a 5,000 metre.
It does feel like the 0.5 is a bit unnecessary for the IOC.
It does, but yeah, really interesting that no one has actually achieved this time in the qualification period. We've had 2 qualification periods. Of course, the Olympics should have happened last year. So 2019, the outdoor season, any qualification marks did count from that. As we see some of the virtual fans, looks like they're really enjoying it. Great to be able to see that. Technology is great, of course, isn't it? And then in 2020, the window closed from the 1st of April and then reopened from the start of this year. So a little bit complicated to follow and understand maybe, but just following this pace, that looked around 65 seconds for the first 400 metres. And I did some calculations. If they are to come through in around about that Olympic qualification, they're running a little bit slower than that at the moment. It's around about 63.5 seconds every 400 metres. So maybe these first few early laps are just a case of, sorting the field out, people just, finding the stride. And I think significantly, if we can look at the 1 kilometre, 2 kilometre, etc. Marks, we'll know what sort of pace that they're on for.
So as we say, 13:13.5. There are 42 places available in the men's 5,000 metres at the Olympic Games. And if we talk about surfing that fine line, we'll use an example of Yuta Bando, who's in the red and white, currently in about, he's in 6th position, the tallest of the athletes, in fact, in the field, so quite easy to notice. He's currently 39th out of 42 in the Olympic quota of places in the World Athletics rankings. And what that means basically is there are 42 places at the Olympic Games. Now, it might be that 42 athletes don't get the Olympic qualifying standard. And therefore, it will knock on, and athletes will qualify through the world rankings. But of course, the way to make sure that you're definitely in is by getting that Olympic standard and by getting yourself in the requisite positions at your national championships, because every country is only allowed a maximum of 3 competitors per event. So if you haven't got the standard, there's always the opportunity other people are going to run better times. And for someone like Bando, Jen, who's 39th out of 42, there's a high chance that a lot of people are going to run faster than him and nudge him down the rankings.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in 39th position. It's better than 42nd, of course, but yeah, you really want to be under that top 30 and think, you know, you're almost guaranteed to go. But what I really like about these races, and we're going to see the women's equivalent as well, there's no pacemakers. And, you know, we see a lot of pacemakers on the circuit. And actually in 2017, I actually had that role, predominantly helping the women's 1,500 metre competitors. So a lot of these races are real true run races, championship races. It's up to the athletes to find that pace. No one's kind of setting it, helping them set it. And, you know, whilst I did enjoy, obviously, pacemaking, it is nice to actually see the athletes use their own tactics and try and work out the pace. And it'd be interesting to see whether, you know, some of the athletes are taking the pace early in the beginning, whether someone will actually help them and they'll push the pace on. But, yeah, I think a lot of athletics fans will enjoy this concept of not having any pacemakers for a change.
Well, it's a very experienced athlete at the front of it at the moment, who I'm sure is extremely experienced at running for target times. Bedan Kuroki, who reached the World Championship finalist in 2015 and 2017 in London and Beijing before that. Twice an Olympic Games finalist. He finished 5th at the London 2012 Olympics over 10,000 metres. In London 2012, he finished 7th over 10,000 metres in the Rio Olympic Games. He took a silver medal at the World Half Marathon Championships as well. He's very well known on the Japanese racing circuit, is Bedan Kuroki, and he's a great, I guess, international class performer for the domestic athletes to latch onto there.
Yeah, definitely. His card is quite impressive, isn't it, when you read it all out like that, Chris? And, you know, just looking at that pace, he's used to obviously a lot of training runs, working out his own pace. It looks like they may be on for around about 13, 20, 25, but there's a long way to go still in that event yet.
Here we stand in the men's javelin. The leader is Genki Dean, who's about to throw 76.52 from Kominami. No sign on that leaderboard as it stands of Ryohei Arai, the Asian Games silver medalist from a few years ago, the 6 times national champion of Japan, not in the top 6 currently. So we wait for Genki Dean, who in turn has to wait for the 5,000 metre athletes. You've got, yeah, what do you got? About 50 odd seconds per throw here to get yourself, slightly more than that, to get yourself sorted and ready. The throw clock will be started as soon as the way is clear for each individual competitor. There you go, right on cue, in the bottom left of your screen. Here's Genki Dean then, the event leader. Really crawling towards the line there. That's going to be around about what he's produced previously.
Well, this competition is causing a few frustrations, isn't it, in these early rounds? He completely threw himself behind that, didn't he? Ended up on his knees, in fact.
Well, there's a variation of techniques we see these days, isn't there? We think of some of the big German powerhouse athletes, the Johannes Vetters of the world, who literally launch themselves full length. And it's all part of the technique now, literally throwing absolutely every part of their body, all the power, the momentum they can find behind it. And it's obviously with the run-up carefully measured and back measured from the line to make sure that even when you throw yourself at full throttle, no part of you goes over that line. Looking spectacular, the National Stadium, capacity around about 65,000 or so. No major athletics event championships have been held in this stadium since the Seiko Golden Grand Prix last year, as we pick up the men's long jump with Shituro Shirayama, currently in 4th position with 7.73. Remember, the second best jump of his life has been 8.01, then that big gap up to 8.40. This is round 5 now. That one went wrong. Didn't get any height, any power, any momentum. Really didn't get anything right there at all, did he?
No, that was rather flat, as we say. Not bad on the board, in fact, but you could actually just see his twisting, and that landing didn't look great either, did it? So, yeah, literally back to the drawing board, and one more jump.
It didn't even look as good as 7.13, did it? But that's the official mark that's come up for Shirayama. So not, I mean, 1 or 2 okay jumps in there, but again, for him, someone who already has the standard and will be one of the leading contenders at the Japanese Championships, just about building form and building a bit of belief coming into the late June Championships, hoping to be back on this runway for the Olympic Games. Daiki Oda, currently in 3rd position. World ranked 58th in the World Athletics rankings. He's had 4 or 5 competitions already this year. And he runs through. So a couple in a row, not happy. Again, as you build in confidence, sometimes if you get a couple of solid ones under your belt, you can just start to try things, can't you? And sometimes that it conversely works for you and it starts to unravel.
I think this is an event where you definitely need to have that belief. You know, when you're stood on that runway and you're about to project yourself down that runway and give it all you've got to have that belief. You can't have any negative doubts. And yeah, I'm sure Oda doesn't want to have 6 meters 07 on his scorecard.
So Togawa, this is round 4 for him in the long jump. Currently in 2nd position, Hashioka 8 meters and 7, the leader, but Togawa 7.82, which is just shy of his personal best of 8 meters. It's an improvement on his previous 2 attempts or competitions this season. Currently in 2nd position. Relatively consistent, round 5, sorry, we said round 4, I think this is round 5. Here goes Togawa. Can he get beyond 8 meters and challenge the lead held by Hashioka? Again, he sort of goes into the hitch kick late, doesn't he? He hangs for a little bit and drives off the board and then sort of adds in the hitch kick in the latter phases.
So many different techniques, and I think I saw the red flag go up, so that looked just short of 8 meters, but he's you know, there or thereabouts towards his best. 8 meters exactly is his personal best, but unfortunately didn't register a mark on that one.
Bit of a shock there to see Yuta Bando. He was the first athlete we picked up in the red and white. He's been dropped completely off the back of this, with the pace being led now, where you can see Kuroki in 2nd position. Looks like Cleophas Candy has taken it up at the front. So still chasing that Olympic qualifying pace of 13.5. It's over 3 minutes running or so left. But Bando, the national champion over 5,000 meters, has been left behind by this. And as you can see, a leading group of 7 and 8 just hanging on are the ones who have pulled this away. In fact, it's Mayan who is the leader, the 3rd of the Kenyan athletes. In fact, that is Cleophas Candy Mayan, sorry. Just getting our various different names mixed up. Cleophas Candy is the leader from Kuroki in 2nd place as they go through 3,800 meters. So 3 laps remaining. 13.13. What's your assessment of the pace, Jen?
Well, it'd be interesting because we're just about to get a 4K marker, and that'll give us a good indication. But Mayhan's had a busy week. He actually ran a 10,000 meters at the beginning of this week, 27.43. So we know he's in shape. And he's trying to push the pace now. So what we're looking for, if they were on target for that sort of pace, in fact, that pace has gone already, we'd be looking around about 10 minutes 35, so 17 seconds away from that. So they're probably looking at round about 13 minutes 30. So this is all about pride, who can be the top performer here on the day, and that Olympic qualification time is just not possible now at this late stage.
We mentioned it was 25 degrees Celsius earlier on for the sprinters and the jumpers. That'll be fine, but for the distance athletes, although some of them will be used to training in these kind of climates, maybe a touch on the warm side as we pick up Kajiri Mogi in the 3rd position. Takashi Ishida is in 4th. Akira Azawa, who's already been selected for Japan in the 10K, having won the 10,000 meters on the track, having won the trial race back in December. He's currently in 5th position. It looked like possibly Hatuma Hazori, who is at the back of that leading group of 6. But it's Kenya 1 and 2 at the moment. Cleophas Kandi, the World Under-18 Championship silver medalist from 2017. Indeed, it was Hattori who is the 6th of those athletes in that leading group. Tanaka leading the chasing pair from Kajiwara.
Yeah, these 6 have pulled away clear now, and it doesn't look like the chasing pack have got any chance of latching onto the back. Just see the facial expression of Mogi there in 3rd place. He's working really hard, isn't he, to keep with this pace. But yeah, all to play for with 2 laps to go. 1 lap to go, sorry.
Yes, indeed, 1 to go as they hit the bell on this occasion. So it's Cleophas Kandi of Kenya who leads. Bedan Kuroki, the 3-times World Championship finalist, in 2nd position, chased by 4 Japanese. Will there be a Japanese winner here to overhaul the Kenyans in the National Stadium and the official Olympic test event here in the Continental Tour Gold? Certainly in 3rd position, Kajiri Mogi, whose personal best is 13:35, and now the move is made, in fact, by Ishida. Takashi Ishida, halfway down the back, has suddenly decided that he is going to try and take this race. Kuroki has gone in 5th position. There's no coming back for him. Cleophas Kandi will set off in pursuit. It was a bold move by Takashi Ishida, who's pretty experienced compared to some of these others, 28 years of age. Has he gone too soon? Or is he doing this with the firm belief that there's plenty left in his legs, gritting his teeth? Kandi in pursuit. In behind him, Hattori in the black is trying to close. Also Mogi, but it's going to be a well-timed burst in the end from Takeshi Ishida, who takes this in 13:27. That is a big personal best for him by around about 6 seconds or so in the end. The pace might have been too slow for the Olympic qualifying, but that is a huge confidence boost for Takashi Ishida, who takes it in a big PB.
And look at the time there for that last 400 metres, 56.96 seconds. So for the majority of the race, they've been operating around about 64.5, 65 seconds. And it was just that sheer change, I think you said burst, Chris, burst of speed with 300 metres remaining. And he actually came down the straight looking like a 400-metre sprinter, didn't he?
Well, I just thought when he made the burst, with about 150 to go, I wondered if he might be regretting it, looking around a little bit, thinking, oh, is it no one's gone with me, but can I hang on? But in the end, he was a very well-timed run, knowing exactly what he had left underneath him. And it was a finely timed burst by Ishida, who takes it.
Yeah, well, that's 6 or 7 seconds off his personal best. It was 13:33.99, so just a fraction inside 13:34 before that one. And here we go. We're seeing a replay here in 4th position. He just finds that little position on the outside quickly, and over the case of 30 metres, he made such a difference to that pack. He probably took 5 metres out of the rest of the pack in just such a small 30-metre segment. And I probably thought the last 50 metres, he was grimacing. It didn't look like he was pulling away from the rest of the field at that point. But with 300 metres to go, to actually make that tactical move, nobody else had a response. He timed that so well, and I'm sure he's got a lot more in his legs if he can run a sub 57-second 400 metres for his last lap.
Well, that's coming off a 4th place finish at the National 10,000 metres trial last weekend as well, when he ran 27:54. He's run a half marathon PB this winter as well, a 60:19 half marathon lifetime best in Yamaguchi. So a fine performance from Takashi Ishida to take the win. Let's have a look at the long jump standings then. As you can see, Yuki Hashioka still out in front with that 8:07. Packing up behind him though, there's just 6 centimetres covering positions 3 to 6 as we pick up Henry Frayne, who's currently in 6th position. A couple of fouls in there to go with a pretty consistent series otherwise. But final round for Frayne. He's got to produce something over 8 metres to give himself a chance of victory. Needs another one. Currently 25th out of 32 in the world rankings Olympic quota places. So we'll see the long jump through towards its conclusion, hopefully, to see if anybody can topple Hashioka. Henry Frayne, the man from Adelaide, who won the Australian title in Sydney recently with 7 metres 97. That's not going to be enough to challenge those top few positions for Henry Frayne. It's the look of a frustrated jumper who probably thinks he's capable of better, having made the journey from Australia over to Japan.
Yeah, I think just that commitment of making that journey shows that he thinks he's obviously in good shape. That's coming down at 7.63 meters. So his fourth round of 7.70 will remain his best here this evening. But yeah, I think sometimes you know you're in shape and you want to feel that runway. He's obviously hoping, having won the Australian Championships, that he will be on the plane back here. Well, 12 weeks' time. So presume most teams will come a couple of weeks before that, so maybe 10 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a lot of teams who may have to alter their arrangements depending on how the pandemic situation is. I think certainly the way it's looking at the moment is that teams will have to arrive in Tokyo a lot later than maybe they would do, so there may have to be some strategically placed training camps elsewhere for teams to get themselves together before jetting into Tokyo, maybe later than they normally would, but certainly they won't be wanting to leave themselves too much distance to travel. Certainly those athletes coming from Europe and from South America, North America, we've got considerable journeys to Tokyo. Anyway, this is Shirayama in the final round, who's currently in fourth position. Best of this field on paper with that 8.40. But at the moment, can't get himself out of the 7.70s. Final round, Shirayama. Pretty good speed on the runway, and that was looking at one of his better attempts, just going out towards the right of the pit. But certainly noticeably quicker on the runway than Frayne prior to him. Seemed to be pretty good on the board.
And he actually almost does a whole 180-degree turn, doesn't he, from where he lands to where he finishes up.
7.79, so the best of the series for Shirayama, which does lift him up a place in that very tightly packed area just behind the leading pair. He gets himself into the top three. Will there be a response from Daiki Oda, who's just slipped to fourth position as a result of that jump by Shirayama? 7.74, but apart from that last jump, what a consistent series from Oda. Just 8 centimeters separating his previous 4 jumps. Round 6, business time for Oda. Again, we're seeing a lot of consistency, aren't we, Jen, in that 7.60, 7.70 region? Yeah,
and his actual season's best from his 2 competitions that he's done so far this year is 7.79, so very consistent, around about that mark, as you say. Of course, all these competitors need to go in excess of 8 meters. 8 meters 22 is what they're actually hoping to do. The world lead this year is 8 meters 44. So quite some form to find for all these competitors so far.
Yeah, Javon Harrison of the USA at the top of those standings, who of course is doing that amazing long jump, high jump double at the moment, which is one of the less frequent doubles to a high level anyway. Here's Tagawa then in the final round of the long jump. Can he improve with his final attempt? Ooh, that's looking better. That's looking out towards 8 meters. And a short, powerful run up, isn't it? In fact, that was off tape. Apologies, that was an earlier round, earlier effort. That was his foul by the look of it. So that shows you what he's got in the tank, despite the fact that was measured, or wasn't measured rather. It looked like if it would have been close to 8 meters. This is live, round 6 then for Tagawa. Can he improve on that? No, unfortunately. Getting the legal jump, and unfortunately lost half a meter in the process. So no improvement for Tenju Tagawa of the Jump Rise Athletic Club. Former Japanese national collegiate silver medalist. 24 years of age.
He was overreaching there, wasn't he? He wanted it that much. I think after that good jump in the 4th round, then the frustration of that foul. Sometimes you just reach a little bit too much. You just try too hard, and I'm sure that's what his coach was saying to him there.
Yeah, particularly in the last round when you've got some places to make up. There's our event leader, Yuki Hashioka. In the final round then. And what a series. Talk about starters you mean to go on and then fall away. Goodness me. 4 fouls in a row after opening up with 8:07 to put himself at the top of the leaderboard. Nobody's come close to him since. Jumped 8:29 in September into a headwind at the back end of last year. Won this with 7:97 last year. Comes from a big Japanese sporting family. His father, Toshiyuki, was 7 times Japanese pole vault champion. So there's a lot of athletics heritage behind Yuki Hashioka, the 22-year-old. So can he put something together here for the final round? The competition is his. But can he end on a high and end a 4-jump streak of red flags? Going to be close to it, the 8 meters again.
Well, he's smiling, isn't he? And you've just got the sense with this young athlete, when he hits it, he can produce a big one. And just waiting to see whether that was a valid jump. Former world junior champion, so that shows his pedigree, that shows his potential. Just fractionally under 8 meters, 7.98. So he does have the 2 valid jumps that he registered, the best 2 jumps in this competition this evening.
So that's your winner, Yuki Hashioka, who's one of those who did have the Olympic standard on paper going into this. It's a nice cushion to have. Hashioka winning it in the end is the only athlete getting over 8 meters, and as you say, Jen, that second attempt as well, the second best in the comp as well. So good performance from Yuki Hashioka. Every time you get beyond 8 meters, that's a decent day at the office, isn't it? Even if you are capable of up into the 8:30s, and that's an improvement on what he produced in his previous meetings this season. Outdoors anyway, or his one previous meeting. 7.97. We move back to the track now. We're in a straight line for the men's 110 meters hurdles. National record has already gone this year, and we have the national record holder in the lineup. There he is, Taiyo Kanai. Went number 2 on the Asian all-time list with that run of 13.16 a couple of weeks ago in Hiroshima, which is also enough for him to gain the Olympic standard as well. So we have a man not only bang in form, but having already taken a national record in the last couple of weeks. We're expecting big things from Kanai in lane 4. Waved on by the virtual fans. So we meet the athletes from the inside. Hideki Amuro, an indoor high hurdles bronze medalist at the Asian Championships, 13.48 man. From Chinese Taipei, Chen Kui-ru, 2018 Asian Games silver medalist, a 13.34 lifetime best, the winner of this race in 2018. He'll need to improve on that PB to get himself in the Olympic qualifying standard shake-up. Ryo Tokioka, just inside the world top 100 as it stands at the moment, 21 years of age. Here is the man of the moment then, Taiyo Kanai. Number 2 on the Asian all-time list with that 13.16. He's the defending champion of this event as well. Shunya Takayama, Asian Games bronze medalist from 2018, former national record holder. Has seen the man inside him, Kanai, go past him. Shuhei Ishikawa goes in lane 6, the 25-year-old. Set his PB last summer in Fukui. Fraction outside the Olympic standard has been set this year by Shunsuke Izumiya, 13.33, set a couple of weeks ago. That's 1/100th of a second outside the Olympic standard. Taiga Yokochi, he's in lane 8 for the Hosei University Club. And one on the outside, the 1/20 leader, came second in this event last year, Rashid Muratake. 19 years of age, but has proved himself in form relative to his age group as well. So Kanai in lane 4, national record holder. And Izumiya in lane 6 in the blue will be 3 from the camera. 2 weeks ago was 1/100th of a second outside the Olympic qualifying mark, which is 13.32. The men's 110 meters hurdles. Well, it was Izumiya in the blue who got a terrific start, but Kanai also going well. Izumiya now starting to go backwards. Kanai with Takayama outside him, closest to the camera. Muratake also going well. It's going to be Tanai up to the line in the end. Izumiya came through for second, close for third between Muratake and Takayama. But the man of the moment, Tano Kanai, takes the victory as we expected he probably would, but he certainly had to work for it in the second half of the race.
He did, and his reaction wasn't the best from the blocks. In fact, with the naked eye, it didn't look like it, but it was a little bit better then. But he was the first to rise and the first one to get to that hurdle significantly. But he only actually came through probably the last 3 barriers. He had to work hard for that, didn't he? And I would actually say that was what I describe as a little bit of a scrappy win in the end.
Yeah, you can see he's grimacing there, and he hasn't won it by that much in the end, is he? He's probably won it by, I don't know, half a torso maybe, as they are on the lean. Kanai takes it 13:38, which is the winning time outside the Olympic qualifying mark, so those behind him will not have achieved that. There's confirmation of those results for the men's 5,000 metres. Lifetime bests for a lot of those top 5 or 6 there. Confirmation too of the men's long jump result. Hashioka with 8:07 took the title, or the competition if you like. Tagawa and Shirayama make up the places.
Well, I like what we're seeing in this era of all the technological advances. We still need brushes. We still need brushes to brush up the sand afterwards.
How can you get more technical brushes?
I don't know. If anyone's watching this, if you can come up with any ideas, let us know.
You make a relevant point though, Jim, because this meeting actually is being used to showcase some of the new Mondo equipment that is designed to make it a more attractive and more information-based experience for spectators when they return to the stadium. Lots of the new lane markers and high jump and pole vault beds and various other things are new part of the new Mondo range being exhibited today by the event. As we pick up on tape a throw over 80 metres in the men's javelin by Takuto Kominami, who has a lifetime best already set this year of 82.52, and looks like he is banging that form again here today.
Well, that was a great throw to watch, wasn't he? We got really frustrated. Remember that other throw that we saw previously where he decelerated, and I think it came down around about 72 metres. But that's the line we've been wanting to see these throwers get over all day so far, 80 metres, and there it is, 80 metres 98.
So Kominami takes the lead in round 5 of the competition from Kenji Agura. Here's Genki Dean, his 5th round attempt. And again, that's dropping closer to 70 than he would like rather than 80. He steps over this time and takes the red flag. So it's not quite happening for Genki Dean today. Sometimes when you see another athlete suddenly find something, I don't know, it can work both ways, can't it? It can feel like maybe put you under more pressure, or can also be a spur on for you. And unfortunately for Dean, he knows he's got to produce more, and at the moment, he hasn't been able to shake off the 75-76 range. Confirmation of that high hurdles result. And a great personal best in 4th position there for the teenager Rashido Murataki, who was the World Under-20 leader with his previous time of 13.53 from a couple of weeks ago. Well, he's improved that even further to 13.51. So a great run in 4th, but the national record holder of Japan, Kanai, had to work hard, but as expected, probably took the win. Still some great field event action to come, by the way. There should be a fascinating high jump on the way very shortly, which includes the world champion Mutazesha Bashim against the likes of Takashi Eto and Naoto Tobe. So this is the javelin. Just seeing a replay of the huge throw by Kominami a moment ago. Launching out towards 81 metres. There it is. So Kominami, who's had a couple of competitions already this year. He only threw 74 in his season opener. And then a couple of weeks ago, he did throw that lifetime best of 82.52. So coming into a bit of peak form for this Ready Steady Tokyo Continental Tour Gold meeting. Of course, there will be a lot of athletes who might be watching this around the world who maybe were booked for this event, were due to be competing last year as part of their Olympic preparations, and for obvious reasons, unfortunately, the event had to be restricted. And this year, the same, the access to international athletes and for international athletes is not as possible. And I think the organisers should certainly take plenty of credit for the amount of high-class athletes they've managed to get here, albeit a large domestic field, but also some international stars as well. And just to get a meeting on with all the logistics that it takes, the safety protocols and everything, certainly it's been a huge pat on the back for the event organisers.
Yeah, so here we're seeing the 100-metre men who are about to take to the track soon.
It's just at the corner of the shot there, Justin Gatlin, Jen.
Yeah, Justin Gatlin. He's ran under 10 seconds for 12 seasons, which is absolutely incredible longevity when we think about it in that way. And here we go. This is the start list.
So that is how things shape up from the qualifying earlier on. There were heats that ran earlier on because Asker Cambridge, who did qualify for the final, was due to go in lane 6, does not start this final. Justin Gatlin, he ran 10.26 to qualify earlier on. Shuhei Tada finished ahead of Gatlin, in fact, in the heats earlier on. He ran 10.24. The fastest qualifier earlier on was that 10.24 from Tada. As we meet the athletes, first of all, going in lane 2 will be Daisuke Minamoto, Asian junior champion in the relay a couple of years ago. Best of 10.23. Really exciting talent. Lalu Muhammad Zori of Indonesia, 20 years of age, just working his way back from injury, so expectations are modified today to the national record here in this event. Last year he has the Olympic qualifying time, which is 10.05. Bruno Dede, World University Games winner from a couple of years ago. He's in lane 7. Ryuichiro Sakai, another of those very close to the Olympic mark with 10.12 as his lifetime best. Yuki Koike, the Asian Games winner, the Asian Championship silver medalist, a 9.98 runner at his best. Yuki Koike, set in London in the summer of 2019. And Justin Gatlin, 4 times a world champion, twice an Olympic champion. He is in lane number 7. And finally, we see Shuhei Tada, the fastest qualifier, who goes in lane 5. So the 2 fastest qualifiers, Tada and Gatlin, who were in the same heat earlier on, have actually got a vacant lane between them, where Asker Cambridge was due to be in lane 6. Huge plus for the Japanese meeting, the Golden Grand Prix, to attract an athlete of Justin Gatlin's caliber, and certainly for some of these younger Japanese sprinters, Jenny, the opportunity to test themselves against someone as decorated as Justin Gatlin.
Yeah, definitely. And Japanese sprinting has been on fire for the last few seasons, hasn't it? Medals in the 4x100 metres at the last couple of World Championships, also at the last Olympic Games in Rio. And just getting into this Japanese squad now is, you know, no mean feat.
So back to the men's 100 in a second as the athletes prepare, but here's Genki Dean live in the final round. Can he get closer to that 80-metre mark? Throws himself and everything at it. Better marginally, maybe up towards 76, 77, but again, he feels he's capable of better by the look on his face. So it's not going to be the top of the podium for Genki Dean today, but opportunities still to come over the next few weeks for him to try and achieve that Olympic qualifying mark and be back throwing for Japan in this stadium later in the summer.
Yeah, and there's not been much wind in the stadium, has there, this evening? And the javelin throwers do like a headwind, don't they? So, yeah, they're hoping that, you know, while some conditions it's really nice for probably the sprinters, for example, the long jumpers, we don't want any wind in those events. The javelin throwers definitely appreciate a wind.
Yeah, as strong as possible would be nice. We've seen a couple of huge throws elsewhere on the athletic circuit. Up towards the mid-90 metres over the course of the last week or so, as we see Huang of Chinese Taipei in the final round. Best of 67 so far. Capable of upwards of 86 on his day. And that's getting closer again to the 80-meter line. So it looks like an improvement for Huang, but not enough to displace our current event leader, Kominami, as he prepares to take his final throw. .77.35 for Huang. What you would say is that the athletes have been all, apart from that throw over 80 from Kominami, everybody else has been pretty much of a muchness, haven't they, in terms of the distances they've thrown today. So it's kept everybody competitive in that 75 to 80 metre region as we count down towards the start with that vacant lane of Cambridge between the two leading protagonists here. Tada on the right for Japan. Twice a world relay bronze medalist. Known for his starts. With Gatlin outside him, can he maintain it today?
Let's get ready to meet the athletes for the final time.
So Gatlin is planning to compete, to be trying to make the Olympic team. He'll have a lot of competition from some of the bang-in form US sprinters, the likes of Trayvon Bromell and Ronnie Baker, certain Noah Lyles, amongst others. We're trying to make that Olympic team. They can only have 3, remember, for the individuals, as we make the athletes one more time. Tasuku Miyamoto goes in lane 2. In 3 is the exciting Indonesian, the world junior champion from Tampere in Finland in 2018. Jenny and I were both there, actually, in the stadium to watch Zori win that. In Europe, Ryoichiro Sakai, the 10:12 lifetime best in lane 4 for the Osaka Gas team.
Lane 5, lifetime best, 10:06.
So Shuhei Tada, just outside that Olympic qualifying mark. 10:05, remember, is what he needs. His personal best goes back to 2017, in fact. Gatlin, 39 he was in February. The CV is as decorated as they come amongst many of the top male sprinters. Yuki Koike also has the 200-meter qualifying time. He already has the standard with that 9:98 set in London. So he could be doing the sprint double for Japan in Tokyo. The closest to us will be Bruno Dede in the blue to make up the 7-man lineup with the absence of Asker Cambridge, who qualified but doesn't start in the final. So what an experience on home soil for the likes of Koike and Tada, either side of the former world and Olympic champion Justin Gatlin. The men's 100 meters final at the Golden Grand Prix, Continental Tour Gold, live in the Olympic Stadium in Tokyo. How many of these athletes will be towing the line by the time we get to the Olympic Games?
10.
Well, away they go, and Tada with that usual start of his with the head down and getting into his flow now, and now Gatlin's strength starting to come through in the second half of the race, but Tada very close. Gatlin gets it in the end. Tada on his inside, 10.24, the winning time for Justin Gatlin. But Tada got away very well, and Gatlin put him under pressure in the second half of the race. Tada, though, he wasn't completely shaken off and certainly made Gatlin work through to the line. But Gatlin, no surprise that he takes the win, 10.24.
Yeah, we can see the replay here. Tada in lane 5. He keeps his head low, doesn't he, until the halfway mark. And his arms are really, really motoring as we see Justin Gatlin there just coming through. Power through at the end. Maybe that little bit of experience. He didn't panic, and we can just see this side glance from Tada there. He was probably expecting Justin Gatlin to be ahead of him earlier in the race. Maybe it surprised him a little bit that he not actually seen him over his shoulder. But yeah, Justin Gatlin takes the win there, 10.24 from Tada.
Well, I'm interested to hear what the coach of Tada has to say about him having a sideways look across with 10 minutes to go.
Look back on the race. I felt good. Had to work on my start. I had a cramp in my calf in the prelims, but I took some time, rested. I know technique could help me out through the race this one.
少し足に不安があった部分もあったんだけども、その中でちょっとスタートで遅れたかなと、そして最後は落ち着いてレースをすることができたよということです。そして Please tell us impression of the sprinting at the new Olympic Stadium. How is feeling that?
Oh, I love it. Great stadium. I know the energy is still going to be here even if it's not a lot of people. And the Japanese runners are going to come. They're going to come with all their fire.
無観客であってもこの新しい国立競技場で走ることができる、とても嬉しい、そして素敵な経験だったという話をしています。What do you think about time this 10:20?
I haven't ran my best in Japan, so I'm working on it now. So by the time I get to Japan for Tokyo, I will run my best I've ever ran.
夏の東京オリンピックに向けて最高の走りができるようにしっかりと準備をしてタイムも上げていきたいということでした。Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
ジャスティン・ガトリン選手に
Great to hear the thoughts of Justin Gatlin then after his race. So not an ideal prep by the sound of it. Jen, a cramp in the prelims earlier on.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it, but it's interesting what he said. Technique would bring him through towards the end, and we definitely saw, you know, those years of experience, and he managed to do that.
We're coming towards the climax of the javelin. Kenji Ogura, currently in second position, needs to challenge that 80-meter line to deny the man waiting in the wings, Takuto Kominami, the victory. Here's Ogura then, final round, round 6. Very steady on the approach. And again, in that area of the grass that's going to have a lot of spike marks in it from those implements. So Ogura, decent enough series put together. A man who has never challenged the 80-meter line in his career. 79.36 has been his best. He's been in that sort of form. So that was the final throw for Ogura. 75.93. One throw to come then. That man, Takuto Kominami, with victory already secure. It's a good scout from today. A couple of his leading domestic challengers, the likes of Genki Dean. Riho Arai, as we can see at the bottom there, no mark, so I don't know whether he's pulled out injured or whether there's been whether he's just fouled in the first 3 rounds and not continued, but either way, he was due to be one of the key challengers. But it's the 25-year-old Takuto Kominami who set that PB a couple of weeks ago through 74 meters as his season opener. Looking to the sky as he launches that one long. Doesn't quite have the same behind it as he did to take the victory, but it's an excellent win in the National Stadium. Anytime you win in the Olympic Stadium in an Olympic year, that's got to be a positive, and Kominami, going beyond 80 meters, is the men's javelin winner.
Well, he came into this as the leading Japanese athlete so far in this discipline, and he's left the Ready Steady Tokyo meet in that same position, which I'm sure is really important in his preparations. So 76 meters 06, so very consistent, other than that second throw where we just saw him almost quite deflated and almost gave up before he released that one. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be delighted. Over 80 meters once again, but significantly it's still that 85 meters that he and the rest of his opponents will be looking for.
So again, if you're new to watching athletics and to the qualification process for major championships and things, there are no real benefits necessarily to being the host nation. There's no automatic qualifying places by virtue of competing for Japan. In Japan, everybody still has to earn their place. And of course, it does have that extra meaning for these athletes competing in this spectacular, redeveloped national stadium, designed by the Japanese architect Kengo Kuma. 68,000 or so for the athletics, and of course it does sit right on the same site of the original national stadium back in the 1964 Olympics, as we see a couple of different angles of the winning throw from our event winner in the javelin, Takuto Kominami. That was the one that did it, 80.98. And again, the raw, hopefully he will be able to get from home supporters if they're allowed in by the time we get to the Olympic Games in January. Will be something to savour, as well as we see the confirmed result of that men's 100 metres final. Only 200th of a second in it between the first couple of places in the end. as Justin Gatlin, overcoming a cramp issue in the prelims earlier on, taking the victory ahead of Tada and Koiki.
Well, the virtual fans are definitely enjoying this one, aren't they? They've seen a lot of action from both the track and the field. We'll have the women's 1500 metres coming up shortly. You can just see them actually assembling there on the back straight for the 3 3/4 laps.
And again, we've got one of the stars of Japanese running. We'll introduce her fully in a moment. In fact, her name's on the screen there for you. There she is, Nozomi Tanaka, the national record holder for Japan, who is targeting a national record in this race as well, and the Olympic qualifying standard. She's targeting beating that national record. She needs to take a second or so off it to not only beat her own national record, but also to reach that Olympic qualifying standard. So that is your, certainly the first portion of the start list anyway. 11, as you can hear, Jeff Whiteman, the stadium announcer in the background, confirming to those who are in the stadium, 11 athletes in total. So we scroll across. Yumi Goto, 4:13.24. 21-year-old, set this year, set last month in Kumamoto for Yume Goto. Yuri Tasaki, just run a 5,000 meters this season already, a 4:14 athlete. Yuri Tasaki, who runs for the Yamaha Holdings team. Helen Ekarare in the Toyota colors. Helen Lubun. Ran Urabe, twice a national champion at 800 meters and at 1500 meters as well from 2019. 4:11 her best. Here's Nozomi Tanaka, also just 21 years of age. Already has the 5,000 meters qualifying mark. Does Tanaka. Riku Kikuchi, the second from the outside, and Cynthia Bere, the 18-year-old who actually beat Tanaka in a Continental Tour bronze meeting back in December. She's got a 4:10 personal best at the age of 18. But all eyes certainly, Jenny, on that lady there, Nozomi Tanaka, as she attacks this Olympic qualifying mark of 4:04.2.
Yeah, just going to the line there. And she is the athlete in form. She actually won this event last year, front ran it. Again, we've got no pacemaker in this field, and she actually front ran it to achieve that 4:05.27. And we have heard that she's trying to get the national record again here, so I think she's actually said that to the race organisers, so we're expecting a fast pace. But I would have expected her to go off straight from the gun, and in fact she's placed in around about 4th position. So in fact, it may look like she isn't targeting that national record. Let's see how the race unfolds.
Well, yeah, that was the information we'd been led to believe from the organisers, wasn't it? In terms of that was the target today, to try and get that qualifier mark in the 5,000 metres as well. The 15,000, 5,000 double is one that not always possible depending on the Olympic schedule. But Tanaka certainly trying to give herself options. But at the moment, it's the 3 Kenyan athletes who lead out front. It's Cynthia Bess currently sitting in 2nd position behind Helen Loban in the blue. Margaret Akido in the red, the 3rd of the Kenyan athletes. And Tanaka, as you can see from the host broadcast, plenty of local focus on her, currently in 4th position, just ahead of Ran Irobe, twice the national champion. But Kenya 1, 2 and 3 at this stage, with Tanaka tucked in 4th.
Yeah, so they covered the first 400 metres in 67 seconds. So if we are to come in around about that 4:04 target, that Olympic qualification, a couple of seconds short there, you need around about 65 seconds. So let's just see how this race does unfold. It's not always obviously about records, it's about getting that competitive race in your legs. And Takana has already qualified, of course, in the 5,000 metres. She was a world junior champion over the 3,000 metres. So again, another one of these high-profile, high-caliber Japanese athletes. But she's just pacing herself there in 4th place, following the 3 Kenyan athletes so far.
Well, she's won a raft of medals at junior level. She's a world junior champion, as we mentioned, in 2018 in Tampere. Also, the Asian junior champion over 3,000 metres, as well as we see the pacemaker, Helen Loban, who we were told there wouldn't be any pacemakers, but she obviously was, and now Tanaka hits the front.
She does, and it was significant, wasn't it? 2:14 through 800 metres, so it was another 67 seconds. And that's around about 4 seconds off that pace that she would need for that national record and that Olympic qualification standard. And she's actually just looks really relaxed now she's hit the front, almost chopping her stride somewhat when she was back in 4th position and maybe not in her own flow. But the pace will certainly have picked up on this 3rd lap.
So Tanaka, the leader from Margaret Akido. 2 promising athletes, 21 and 20 years of age, lead this as they take the bell. 4:04.20, remember, is that Olympic qualifying time, and Tanaka, unless she's going to find some extra afterburners from somewhere, she has put her foot down a little bit and left Akido behind. Cynthia Bare of Kenya back in 3rd position at the moment, but Tanaka starting to open it up down the back and move away from them.
Yeah, and she's really striding out now, isn't she? It's interesting that she can run all the way up to the distance of 5,000 metres, which she has done recently, and it's all about what she's got now this last 200 metres. I think she can certainly run that national record and that Olympic qualification, but maybe it's not today.
Well, all the way around, coming around the bench, is almost eyes have been taken towards the clock on the infield as Tanaka comes into the home straight now. Too much to do in terms of reaching that 4:04 qualifying mark, but it's going to be a dominant performance by Nozomi Tanaka, who looks certainly a very bright prospect as far as Japan are concerned. Her personal best is going to be agonisingly away as well, 4:05.27. In the end, that early sedate pace, they come through in 4:09.1. The early sedate pace, Jen, probably cost her any opportunity, but the way she finished there, you wonder if she had gone out a little bit stronger in the early stages, whether she may have got a little bit closer.
Yeah, well, she closed in 63.84, which was obviously the fastest lap of the 3 3/4 ones that she's actually done. So she's shouting something. I'm not sure whether she's happy with that or not, but it's really difficult when you're going over, you know, a multitude of distances. She's obviously had the 5,000 metre pace in her legs. Now she's running over 1,500 metres, but yeah, she looks like she's got that sort of time in her if she should need it. But it was a great win, and I'm sure she's quite relieved, because sometimes when you're built up and you're expected to win, that can come with a little bit of pressure. So nice that she's managed to win in this test event and this Continental Gold meet.
And again, as we mentioned earlier on, for anybody who wins in the Olympic Stadium, a confidence booster as well. And obviously she didn't have, in terms of the opposition today, once she decided to take it to the front and then move on, she didn't have anybody pushing her, which can make a big difference at times as well. So sometimes the solo runs are the ones that are hardest to hit your targets, when you are literally motivating yourself and running against the clock, which she was doing there, but certainly a step in the right direction for Nozomi Tanaka. It remains to be seen which distance we will see her in over in Tokyo by the Olympic Games. Confirmation then of that final standings in the men's javelin. The only 80-metre throw was that of Takuto Kominami, who takes the victory. An eagerly awaited men's high jump competition. Anytime you have someone of the calibre of Mutaz Essa Barshim, it is sure to attract attention, but also great domestic field as well. With 3 athletes who have 2:30 PBs or greater in this field as well. Picking up the competition then, which has been underway as it starts to get towards crunch time. Naoto Tobe, clean slate so far for him. And he's over that. Just confirm what height that was he was taking on there. 2:30, I would imagine, for Naoto Tobe, who is one of these elite. That was 2 meters 30. There we go, confirmation of that first time again. So that's a real good series for Naoto Tobe. The Olympic qualifier mark that he doesn't have is 2:33. So that clearance of 2:30 is surely going to give him huge confidence. So we pick up Akamatsu, who's attempting 2:30 as well for the first time. Not to be for him. That would be a new lifetime best for him. His best is 2:28. Takashi Eto took a couple of attempts, you can see, to get over 2 meters 27. What happened on his first attempt at 2:30? Not to be for him either. 3 times a national champion of Japan. PB is 2:30. Barshim, clean slate as well, just like Tobe. Twice the world champion, back to back. 2:30 for him. Always makes it look so easy, Jenny.
He does, and when I watch him, I always think he takes off too far away from that bar, but he just flies through the air, doesn't he? So graceful to watch this athlete perform, and yes, so much further away from the bar in contrast to the other athletes, but it works for him, and so much bounce. You actually saw him get the bounce back from the bed there as well, didn't you?
He glides like no other through the air, does he, Mutaz Essa Barshim? This is only his second competition since the World Championships, when he won. Again, we were both in the stadium that night in Doha, Jen. One of the nights when the Qatari crowd were certainly loving their athletics that night, when Barshim took gold. As we see Akamatsu's second attempt at 2 meters and 30 for a new lifetime best.
Well, these Japanese high jumpers, they always perform, don't they? Such an abundance of riches, and so competitive to get into that Japanese Olympic team.
Eto to match his lifetime best. Yes, excellent second attempt from Takashi Eto, who was over that with a little bit to spare. So he equals his lifetime best. He jumped 2:30 last week in Fukuroi as well. So Takashi Eto keeps himself in the competition with Tobe and Barshim all over 2 meters 30 now. No Japanese athlete has the Olympic qualifying mark of 2:33, but Eto and Tobe are certainly looking like they might be capable of it today.
And it's great, isn't it, to get that consistency week in and week out at 2:30. Still needs to find that extra 3 centimetres, of course, but this is what Barshim came for. Barshim knew that he was going to get a really high level of competition by taking on 3 of Japanese's best athletes here.
Last attempt for Akamatsu at a lifetime best of 2:30. A bit closer, but not close enough, I'm afraid, in the high jump. And Akamatsu's competition is done with his clearance at 2 meters 27. He will, it appears, finish in 4th position. So this high jump really is bubbling up. Interested to see Barshim as well, choosing to go to Tokyo to get experience of the competition as we just wrap up those 1500 meters results from a short time ago. Tanaka taking the victory, but some good PBs further down the list for Katigara of Japan, also for the teenager from Kenya, Margaret Ekido. And for Kikuchi as well, further down, inside 4:20. Naoto Tobe then, 3 times a Japanese champion. He's failed the first attempt at 2:33. These are live pictures. Second attempt is a failure as well for Tobe. So we've caught up on the highlights of the high jump. This is now live pictures with Naoto Tobe, who certainly came to a bit of prominence, Jenny, on the World Indoor Tour a couple of years ago when we were in Karlsruhe in Germany together.
He did, and we had the pleasure of commentating on him as he set his national record. We had a pause in the action. I think there was something going on with the sprint hurdlers, and we could focus on the high jump, which is fantastic that these field eventers get that opportunity to get some of the highlights and really get showcased.
So next to go will be Eto. As you saw from that caption, both Eto and Barshim have both failed their first attempt at 2:33. So this is second time of asking at 2:33. Not to be there either for Takashi Eto, the Asian champion from a few years back, silver medalist from 2019, ranked inside the top 30 in the world as it stands at the moment. Takashi Eto, again, doesn't quite have that Olympic standard at the moment. This would be it. This height is the one they need. Hence, it is literally there within touching distance, but not to be that time. Eto will have one more attempt. So Barshim, the leader on count back at the moment, as it stands, or the joint leader with Tobe, because neither of them have cleared this height yet. So we see the world champion, Mutas Essa Barshim, who won the silver medal in Rio at the last Olympics in 2016. So looking to take that step up the rostrum this time around. 2:36 was his mark to win silver in Rio. 2:37 was his mark to win the title in Doha at the World Championship. Second attempt, 2:33. No. So no one over yet. 2 attempts each have been taken. As you say, Jen, often I'm sure Mutaz Barshim, when he's competing in maybe some events in Qatar or sometimes even on the global circuit, finds competition sometimes a little bit in short supply, but he's certainly getting it today from Eto and Tobe. We'll come back to the climax of that competition very shortly. But now moving back onto the sprint straight. Women's 5,000 metres still to come on the track, but this will be the women's 100 metres hurdles as we focus on Asuka Terada in lane 5, who's broken 13 seconds. The first Japanese woman to break 13 seconds a couple of weeks ago when she ran 12:96 in Hiroshima. A huge psychological mark to crack in Olympic year. Won the silver medal at the Asian Championships back in 2009, did Terada. She's 31 years of age now, as we see some more support coming from those virtual fans. You may be picking up a little bit of virtual crowd noise as well that's been implemented as part of the World Athletics event presentation department in this Olympic test event. They're testing quite a few things that will be in use in the Olympic Games as part of this official test event, doubling up as the Golden Grand Prix on the Continental Tour Gold for World Athletics. With the next stop on the tour, just time to draw breath before we do it all again in Mount Sac in California this evening, if you're watching in European time, wherever you're watching around the world. As we see the support for our 9 athletes lining up for this women's 100 metres hurdles final. There's some titles on the inside, by the way, in the shape of Ayako Kimura, who we'll meet shortly. She's got a best of 13:03 as the full start list.
In lane 1, the twice Asian champion over 100 metre hurdles.
We could almost let the stadium announcer Jeff do our intros for us, because he's reading the similar kind of records that we have. Twice the Asian champion, 6 years apart, 2013 and 2019. Ayako Kimura. Tanaka goes in 2, Hikari Tanaka. 22 years of age, so 4th competition of the year. She's been in the mid to high 13 seconds so far with what she's produced. Very happy to be there by the look of it. Akubo, Yuri Akubo, PB this year, 13:31, set in Hiroshima. Miho Suzuki lines up in lane 4, 100th of a second outside her PB a couple of weeks ago, so in lifetime best form. Asuka Terada won in 13:03 last season. She got 3 national titles over this distance and the honour of being the first Japanese woman to break 13 seconds. She's actually on the comeback trail. She retired once back in 2013, played a bit of rugby sevens and then came back to athletics. Masumi Aoki, again tantalisingly close to 13 seconds in her lifetime. Hitomi Shimura, 13:02. Big psychological barrier for her to try and crack as well. One from the outside will be Maya Takeuchi, 22 years old. Her personal best came last month in Hiroshima. And right on the outside is Mayo Shimano, just 19 years of age, but 36 runner. Very busy on the indoor circuit in the winter. At your lineup for the women's 100 meters hurdles. The Olympic qualifying standard, no one in Japan has it, 12.84 seconds. But fresh from a new national record, can Asuka Terada go even faster in 12.96 in lane 5. 3 other athletes on the precipice of cracking 13 seconds. Kimura right on the inside, Aoki just on her outside in 6, and Shimura in 7. Flying start by Aoki just outside Terada in the blue, but now Terada into her running. Pretty clean so far. Right on the inside, Kimura also going strongly, but it's Terada from Aoki at this stage. Terada will take this one. It's 12.98. She cracks 13 seconds again, just outside her national record, but really consistent sprinting over the course of a couple of weeks from Asuka Terada. 12.98, under 13 again.
Yeah, that was never in doubt, was it? And we're just looking at the fans' reaction as they're watching that race. And under 13 seconds, that really is a big benchmark for international women's sprint hurdles. There's a big screen in the stadium, so that's why they're all looking. They're actually looking for a replay or to see the results. You can just see in the distance that that's actually coming up now. So congratulations all around. She's happy with that. Again, sub 13 seconds. In fact, we can just see it's been rounded up 100 to 12.99. So here we go again, looking at those centre lanes. And she was going well right from the beginning, wasn't she? Terada, strong, powerful athlete. Some good speed between those 10 barriers as well, and sub 13 seconds.
It's a bit of a crashing fall for Takeuchi out in lane 8. I hope she's okay after that fall at the end. But Aoki just outside of there in the blue. She arguably got a slightly better start, but certainly managed to keep Terada honest throughout the race. As you said, Jen, we just caught a glimpse in the background of 12.99 as the official time. We'll wrap all that up shortly, and any personal bests. Here's Naoto Tobe then as we come back to the climax of the high jump. 2:33, the Olympic qualifying standard. It would be a lifetime best. It's his 3rd and final attempt. And not to be for Naoto Tobe today. So he will have to come back and find it in his legs to do it again. You wondered whether the presence of the likes of Barshim could be that injection, I guess, of quality they needed today. But Tobe, 2:30, still no mean clearance to get himself, currently anyway, to the top of the leaderboard at level with Barshim. But Tobe knows it's agonisingly close.
And just to reiterate how tough these Olympic qualification standards are, the best jumper in the world this year has cleared 2:31. That's Hamish Kerr of New Zealand. So the bar is set at 2:33, which was the Olympic qualification, and no athlete in the world so far has actually achieved that.
Can Takashi Eto become the first? Oh, nearly.
Oh, and I
so
thought,
nearly.
Me too. I thought you just set that up perfect. I thought he was about to do that. You just saw it collapse just in the middle there. But I'd like to see a replay of this. Here we go. He was focused from the start, wasn't he? Oh, just couldn't quite see what happened at the top there, but he knew he was close. You look at these athletes' facial expressions, and you know, another day that bar probably would have stayed on. So great local domestic rivalry between those two athletes, Toby and Eto. They'll keep pushing each other on, I'm sure, over the next few weeks. They need to get over that 2:33, and let's see if Barshim himself can do it.
Well, Eto went to Rio in 2016. He's been to 3 World Championships as well. He knows exactly what the feeling's like to get to a major champs, and he was pretty close there to certainly doing half of the job. Barshim then, 2:33, has the standard already by virtue of his performance in Doha. And he jumped 2:37 to win. That qualifies him as the Olympic standard as well. But to take the competition and to register a 2:33 clearance in his first competition in Japan for 10 years. The double world champion has one attempt at 2:33 to lift the prize. So not either for Mutazes or Barsim. It was beyond even the best today in the National Stadium in Tokyo. So we think there's going to be a jump off now, Jem, because the two athletes are level with the amount of failures. They both had a clean slate, a clean card, right up to failing 3 times at 2.33 meters. So we have a jump off between Tobey and Barsim.
And it actually looks like they're both up for it, which is the important thing, because of course you could just say, oh, you know, I'm going to win my competition, but of course then, you know, you wouldn't get the win. But great that we're going to actually get a little bit of a showcase event between these two athletes, and of course another opportunity for them to hone their skills in.
It certainly is. Well, there'll be some prize money up for grabs here as well, which will be another of the reasons that they are looking to separate the first and second. And just for the benefit of those of you, again, not familiar necessarily with how athletics works there, you can see that X on the 2:30 column for Eto. That is why he won't be involved in the jump-off. Even though he cleared the same height, they tot up the number of failures on the card. And as a result of that first-time failure at 2.30 meters, that means that Eto will finish in third, and it will be just Tobey and Barsim, even though they all cleared the same height on countback. Barsim and Tobey involved in the jump-off. As we head or prepare for our final track event, which will be the women's 5,000 meters, Jenny.
Yeah, this one's a good one, and we're focusing on the athlete there, Nanya. She's going for the national record. So the Olympic qualification standard is 15:10. And just looking down at this field, there's several athletes whose personal best is definitely under that. 2 athletes have exceeded that standard and therefore have got that qualification so far. One of those athletes is on your screen now, Naya. She's stepping down actually to the 5,000 today. She's got national records over 10,000 and the half marathon in recent years. And another athlete who's also got their standards so far, just 20 years of age, a rising star in Japanese athletics, is an Aroka. And I'm sure we'll get an image of her soon.
And she's the one in the pink cap, actually, wearing hip number 11. But it is Hitomi Nia, the Kenyan athlete, Teresa Giteri as well. As we see, the sign there says 2 laps. Some of them towards the end of this race are probably wishing it was 2 laps. Which they've got a little bit more than that to do in the women's 5,000. 12.5. As we see Hitomi Nia, twice the Asian silver medalist at 5,000 meters, going back to 2011, and did the same, silver medalist in 2019 over 10,000 meters as well. Yuna Wada just going through there, who's an Asian under-20 silver medalist. There's Mikuni Yada, who is the Asian champion from 2018 over 5,000 meters. All-time best is at 15:19. The big qualifier in this event is 15:10. Kairi Hagatani, 15:05. Her best was set in the summer of last year. There's Teresa Giteri, Tony, also 19 years of age, so some plenty of youth in this field. Has already got a PB this year of 15:06. That was set a couple of weeks ago in Hiroshima. There's Rurika Hironaka, already selected for the Japanese Olympic team in the 10,000 meters. By virtue of having had a couple of trial races, they had a December trial race and they had one last week as well. And Hitomi Nia, also selected for the 10,000 meters at the Olympics from the December trial race. So she's got an Olympic ticket already in her back pocket. She's going to go for the double, 5,000 and 10,000. We'll get Jenny's thoughts on that and how the schedule works from that point of view at the Olympics for these athletes. But we are standing by for our last track event with the high jump off still to come shortly. Our last track event of the Golden Grand Prix Continental Tour Gold meeting live from Tokyo is the women's 5,000 meters. So 15:10, how are you rating this Olympic qualifying mark, Jenny, in this women's 5K?
Well, they're all tough, aren't they? Every time we come to another event, I almost look at it and think, oh my goodness, what is the standard? There's no easy ticket to get to Tokyo, and really good field here. Again, you know, I've already said it, the men's equivalent. Japan are great at distance running. Lots and lots of people run for pleasure as well as trying to get those performances at major championships. And we have heard that perhaps, there is a chance of a national record here today. So the national record for Japan is 14 minutes 53:22. Just looking down my list here. That was set in 2005. That was from Fukushi. So the athlete that we've been honing on in Nia, she's just a couple of seconds outside that at her very best, 14:55:83. So well inside that 15:10 Olympic qualification standard. And it'd be really interesting to see how many of these women can get close towards that sort of time.
Agnes Makwali and Teresa Mutoni, the Kenyans, at the front of that field at the moment. As we pick up the jump off, Naoto Tobe applauding with some enthusiasm at least. The jump off for Mutas Eshabashim then, after the two athletes were tied with clearances of 2 meters 30. 2:33 was beyond them. Bashim in the jump off. Oh, that was close, and then nicked it off with his heels on the way through.
Oh, he was slightly frustrated with that one, wasn't he? And yeah, 2:33, that was the closest attempt that we've actually seen at that height this evening. And yeah, he looks like he's definitely got that in his pocket if he has another attempt at it. I think the frustrating thing, something like that for him, is he knew how close that one was.
So just to add there, you might have just briefly got a shot of it. Tobe also failed his first attempt at that 2:33 jump off height as well. So the bar will be reset. The athletes will come again, trying to separate themselves between first and second place. We pick up the women's 5,000 metres, Jem, which I would be fair to say isn't exactly steaming along in the early stages.
It isn't. We just saw a quick glance there of the lap marker and the time. It looked like it was around about 78 seconds, 78 and bits. And from my calculations that I did prior to this race, they'd need to run around about 73 seconds to get that 15:10. So now we're not in Olympic qualification territory and absolutely nowhere near that Japanese national record territory. So I think this is definitely a race. This is all about tactics, and it'll be really intriguing to see how this one unfolds. With a lot of these women coming to this event from different backgrounds. We've got the 5K specialists, I'm just saying that as Naya gets to the front. We've got 10K specialists. We've got some women who go on the road over half marathon and even marathon. But I think this is an indication that Naya thinks, nope, I've had enough. I'm going to get to the front and I'm going to make this an honest pace.
Yeah, she wasn't happy with the way they crawled through there to 1,000 metres at 3:12, which would be around about that'd be around about 16-minute pace. As the way they've gone through that first 1,000 metres or so. The jump off, by the way, the bar is moving down to 2 meters 32. They'll keep bringing it down by increments until the jumpers can be separated. So we'll be back to that live in just a moment. But as you can see now, there's been a note. Last time they went down the back, they were barely moving. And this time, that injection, as you say, from Hitomi Nia has strung them right out.
Yeah, and that shot's great down the back straight. I always think when you see athletes one behind the other, that's a real indication that the pace is increased and everyone's just hanging on.
So this is 2:32, the jump off height. Live pictures with Naoto Tobe, first to go again in the jump off against Bashim. And that isn't close for Tobe. Well, it's just in the legs, isn't it? It's I suppose he hasn't taken that many jumps. Because he's sailed through with a clean card up till 2:33. But from that point of view, just trying to find it in those legs now, late in the competition, with someone like Bashim breathing down your neck. 2:31, sorry, the bar's come down to, not 2:32.
Yeah, and 2:31, a clearance would equal the best height in the world so far this year.
And still, you know, it's just a very good, decent winning mark, isn't it? As we say, but they'll keep coming backwards until they've eventually been separated.
And I like this format. It's kind of like in football. It's like a penalty shootout, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you often see, you know, it has to be decided. Sometimes medals, occasionally in competitions, you see medal shared for various reasons, if athletes tie on distances or things. But I think high jump is certainly one of those events that, a bit like pole vault, isn't it? Where the jump off is specifically designed for a bit of drama and to make sure we actually get a definitive conclusion.
Yeah, and it's probably great for fans. I'm not sure whether the athletes actually enjoy that extra tension. Some athletes at major championships, they have a conversation and sometimes they decide to share a medal and they don't jump off. But for the purposes of this meeting, when there's still Olympic qualification to be gained and season's bests, both athletes, we're really glad as spectators have decided to do this jump off.
So, 2:30. Live picture still with Barshim. Jump off. Clearance at 2 meters 30. They all failed at 2 meters 33. So Tobey, again, a great experience. He's 29 now, Tobey, but he's won the Japanese title 3 times. Most of his medals have come either World Juniors or certainly in Asian Games or Asian Championships. But I'm sure would love to get to the Olympic Games for the. Well, this goes without saying, doesn't it? Love to get to the Olympic Games for the first time in Tokyo. As Barshim is. Maybe the women's 5K going too quick for him now. He's pointing to his watch saying, come on, we've only got a little window here to get this done before they come around again.
That's an extra pressure as well, isn't it? When the field, you've got 50 seconds for your jump and the field is quite split like it is, but here we go. He's about to take his next attempt at 2:31.
So Tobey failed. If Barshim clears, he wins. Again, that was getting further away. So for Barshim, as the bar's coming down, he's getting further away.
Well, he's not competed much, has he? I think you said, Chris, he's only competed once before this evening since that emphatic win in Doha. I mean, we should talk about Doha, the pressure and the expectation in his home country and his own home city, of course, of Doha itself. Is very similar to what some of these Japanese athletes will experience here in this National Olympic Stadium later in the year, and he came into that competition with absolutely no form. They'd been injured for a long time and jumped 2:36, 2:37 to win, which was absolutely incredible. So we know he can handle the pressure, but has he got the actual training in his legs?
So if you can work out what comes after 2:30, you'll work out that that's going to be 2:29 on the high jump upright there for these athletes, who, as we say, both look like they're starting to feel the effects of the competition now, this early in the season as well. Tobey and Barshim. First, I think I mentioned this earlier, I can't remember if I did, Joe, but it's his first appearance outside Qatar for 2 years, as you say. He's only had one competition since the World Champs, with which he jumped 2:25 back in Doha. But 29 years of age as well, so he's been an absolutely terrific servant to the high jump, and he's been one of the standout characters as well of the sport over the course of the last 7 or 8 years or so. But when you get to that the magic age of 29, 30 as a top-level athlete, I mean, you went on for a few years after that, Jem, but you do wonder every time you get to a major champs how many more you've got left in you when you're at the peak of your powers. But Barshim, the one thing he doesn't lack, I don't think, is confidence and self-belief.
No, when he showcased that in abundance in that World Championship back 2 years ago now. And, he is a big-time performer. Bronze medal in London Olympic Games. I think he shared it on that occasion. Silver in Rio. And, gosh, I'm sure he'll want to go one better in this stadium in just a few months' time. But he has added 5 centimetres to his season's best already here this evening, which shows the top class quality that these Japanese athletes have brought out of him. Here we go. This is Tobey. Oh, and the same fate. I'm just wondering, is there any history of how far down we've had to go in these bar clearances in a jump off? But yeah, I presume we're going to 2:28 next.
Well, Barshim will get his attempt at 2:29, but we seem to be nudging down in 2 centimetre increments. So Barshim will have his go. He said, I'm just waiting for these the 5,000 metre athletes to come round.
And it's interesting, the psychology, Tobey kind of clapped and, tried to inspire and encourage Barshim earlier, but it wasn't too enthusiastically, was it? At this point, Barshim actually looked like he was quite revitalised when he saw Tobey knock the bar off and actually thought, OK, I can finish this competition at this next height. Let me just get it. This is getting really fatiguing for both of these guys now.
Well, Barshim has, if there is a psychological advantage, he knows exactly what he's got to do by the time it comes to his jump. He knows that if Tobey clears, then he's got to match him. He knows if Tobey fails, then he's got a chance to win. Whereas Tobey doesn't quite know. He sort of does his bit, and then he's sitting on his hands waiting. A bit like a penalty shootout in football, soccer, depending on where you were watching around the world, where one team will choose to go first or second. There can be an advantage both ways. Barshim then at 2:29 now in the jump off to win it.
No, I even think Barsham thinks it's getting ridiculous. I'm sure he could clear that in most competitions whenever he starts a competition. And yeah, fantastic that both of these competitors did have bar clearances all the way up to 2:30, because they certainly need those fresh legs now.
Yeah, they're talking now about where the bar's going to go, and I wonder if they're just saying, should we move it down a couple more centimetres beyond the 2 centimetre increments? Talking to the official down there. So 2:29, as you say, Jen, they both cleared, had a clean sheet all the way up to 2:30 in the competition proper. So we're just hearing from our production team that it's likely to be 2:27, the jump off height. So if there were some negotiations about trying to bring it down a little bit further to ensure they don't end up going on all night here. Local time in Tokyo is getting into the, where are we? Getting into the early evening. Sorry, we're getting later into the evening now. Local time in Tokyo is around about 8:45 p.m. As we pick up the women's 5,000 metres, and we can see that Hironaka has taken the lead in the cap, and interestingly, near just on the inside there of that group of 5, the Kenyan athlete who's joined the party, if you like, at the front is the 18-year-old Judy Jeppen-Getich, who's in the pink with the white cap. The other of the Kenyan athletes is Teresa Mutoni, who's 19. 2 Kenyan teenagers in that leading group of 3, with Hia behind them, and also Hagetani, Kaida Hagetani in the navy, just to the left of your camera shot there, 15:05 athlete. Just hearing in the background, Jen, I don't know if you picked that up, but the stadium announcer, Jeff, there, just saying that they think they've called the high jump off as a tie.
Well, I was actually wondering whether that would be the next thing. I'm sure a lot of the coaches would think this is going to wipe some of the athletes out for the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure we'll pick that up at some point. But just back to this women's 5,000 metres, these are the athletes that we expected to feature towards the front. Nakaya did try to push the pace on. Not quite sure what happened when we did move away to the high jump there. She's just sat at the back of that field of 5 women as we're just going through now, 4,200 metres. So we've got 2 laps remaining.
So it's a leading group of 5 then, headed at the moment by Rurika Hironaka, already safe in a Japanese team for the 10,000 metres for the Olympics. In second position is Teresa Gateri of Kenya. Then comes Hagetani of Japan. Then Judy Jeppen-Getich in the white cap, and still Hitomo Nia just holding on to that the back of that leading group of 5 at the moment, with 600 metres to go.
Yeah, 600 metres to go now, so that's a lap and a half, and still no breakaway from these 5 women. Looking through the statistics, Japan have got some fantastic young athletes. As you've said, Hiroka, she's already qualified, got the qualification marks at least for the 5,000 and 10,000 metres at just 20 years of age. You normally improve as you grow with age, but here we go. This is a significant move at the front now.
Kaida Hagetani is the one that's made it as they take the bell, and she's taken 5 metres out of the field as they hear the bell for the final lap, and Nia is the one who's just struggling off the back of that group of 5 now. Kaida Hagetani, the 20-year-old, who's on a 15:27 5K this year already. It's going to be just outside that probably this time around. There's a strong move also being made from the middle part of the field by Judy Jeppen-Getich, now the middle part of that group of 5, and that long stride is eating up the ground down the back straight for Jeppen-Getich.
It is, and we saw in the men's race that there was a big burst of speed that was timed to perfection with 300 metres to go, and Hagetani did hers at 400 metres to go, didn't she? And just seems to have run out of steam here, as it's a fantastic race with just over 100 metres to go.
So it's Jeppen-Getich now being challenged on the outside by Teresa Mutoni, the 2 Japanese athletes being left behind, Hagetani and Hironaka, as they come down towards the line now. Challenging on the outside, it's Teresa Gateri, and the 19-year-old will prevail here. Jeppen-Getich tying up towards the end, and it's Teresa Gateri who takes it. 15:10 in the end, just a few seconds outside her lifetime best and 0.92 of a second, Jenny, outside the Olympic qualifying mark.
Well, that pace really heated up, didn't it? From that first kilometre, which was really pedestrian, and it's round about 10 seconds away from that qualification kind of pace. And you can just see the indication there of the final lap, 62.99 seconds. That's around about the pace that you would expect at the end of a 1,500 metres, not a 5,000 metres. So again, just one of those indications that 15:10.00 is well within the capacity of a lot of these athletes there. And again, the old adage that speed kills, having that speed towards the end of the race, if you can just stay in a position to strike and have that finishing speed, you know, speed burns, doesn't it? And that was such a great race to watch. That last 500 metres or so, the race changed and the lead changed 3 or 4 times, and I couldn't have called that one.
Well, goodness me, that was the agonising facials from Kaida Hagatani, who was the one who put the hammer down when they came to the bell, will have known that if they could throw in a strong last lap, as you say, Jenny, that they would have maybe come very close. And when you get a second, or in her case, probably 2 or 3 seconds outside it after 12.5 laps, that really is agonising. We're just seeing the on tape the conclusion of the high jump, by the way. This is what happened a short time ago as Tobey and Barshim decided that in the end they had enough competition jumps in their legs. They were happy to split the pot, split the title today, and at the end, as the jump off did seem to be heading deep into the night, that Barshim and Tobey share the spoils.
Yeah, I think that was only fair in the end. You could see Barshim's coach sat in the stand. He was looking up at him for instructions throughout, and I think he probably said, yeah, you know, let's call it a day.
So this is a little look back at the 2:30 attempt that they cleared earlier on, and when Tobey soared over that at 2 meters 30 for his first clearance, you thought that he'd have something better, certainly in the tank, or get a bit closer maybe. Barshim himself then went on to make 2:30 look pretty easy. But unfortunately, from there, it was a case of 3 failures at 2:33 each, followed by that jump off that ended up being called off. Beautiful sights over Tokyo, coming towards the end of our live transmission, as we see confirmation there of a tie for first place on countback in the end between Barshim and Tobey. And Eto equaling his PB with that 2 meters 30 jump, takes third. Confirmation from a little bit earlier on of the women's 100 meters hurdles results, which was taken by Terada, the only Japanese athlete to break 13 seconds. She did it again today with 12.99. Aoki finishing in second, 13.06, just outside that Olympic qualifying standard. Well, there haven't been able to be any spectators beyond coaches and athletes inside the stadium, but what a huge achievement it's been, Jenny Meadows, to get this event on, attracting some competitors for overseas, but with what's going on in Tokyo and the pandemic situation at the moment, to have this opportunity to give the Olympic Stadium a run out, to give it a test. This is a spectacular venue. As we look back to some of the athletes' action from earlier on. A win for Izuka in the 200 metres. The 400 metres went the way of Sato, who ran a very interesting race, blazing out the hurdles. Well, what a moment for Kurakawa, who got himself the Olympic qualifying standard. That's what it means to get the Olympic qualifying standard for your home Olympic Games. Kurakawa in the 400 hurdles. Well, this was the blazing finish down the back straight from Ichida in the men's 5,000 metres, who really is, look at that, straining all the way to the line. He stung the Kenyan athletes down the back with that surge, and no one could live with him. Ishida taking the men's 5,000 metres. Kanai was the favourite of the men's 110 metres hurdles. Lived up to that tag. PB run on the near side for Murayake, the exciting youngster. long jump was an exciting competition in itself in the end. The javelin maybe not quite living up to expectations potentially, but Komenami, the only man to go over 80 metres in the end. Justin Gatlin, the headline overseas name, along with Barshim. Two men with decorated athletic CVs in the Japanese National Stadium. Gatlin didn't have it all his own way from some of the top local talent, as you can see there, but held on by the width of that broad chest to take victory in the men's 100 metres, despite a cramp issue in the earlier rounds. In the women's 1500 metres, Tanaka, well, she had to do it all from the front in the end herself. Outside of that national record that had been touted that she possibly might go for. This was Terada's run, sub 13 seconds. And then it was the jump off between Tobey and Barshim, which ended with handshakes and smiles and an agreement to split the pot and the winnings and the title 50-50. Confirmation of that result in the end of the 5,000 metres women. Teresa Matoni just outside that Olympic standard. Of course, Kenyan distance running, there will be a host of people who will be inside that standard. But for her, a lifetime best. No wonder she was celebrating as she crossed the line. Hitomi Nia, she'll definitely be going to the Olympics in 5th place as part of the Japanese team in the 10,000 metres, as will Hironaka, who finished in 4th. As we move further down, some of the athletes who for this will be a development opportunity and the opposite opportunity to compete in the Olympic Stadium, maybe beyond them for the actual Olympic Games, but any chance to compete in the newly revamped 65,000 National Stadium of Japan will be one that very few domestic athletes, I'm sure, will turn down in any country around the world. All quiet now in the National Stadium. We've brought you 2.5 hours of action from the Ready Steady Gold, Ready Steady Tokyo Continental Tour Gold meeting. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage we brought you wherever you've been watching around the world. The Continental Tour Gold moves on, of course, later on today, in a few hours from now. Check your local transmission timetables or via the World Athletics YouTube channel for Mount Sac in California, where a host of American and international stars will be taking on those Olympic standards once again. The beautiful sight, though, of the National Stadium in Tokyo. From us, myself, Chris Temple, and Jenny Meadows, it's goodbye.
男子走り高跳びのバーシム選手に来ていただきました。
It's a really long game today.
Yeah.